Alright, hello everyone. How are you all doing? I'm just shifting my gears and checking things out. Yeah, wasn't really sure like what to talk about on the stream, but like, hey, why not? Just like keep on doing what you like doing. Hey John, how are you doing? Andreas, good to see you. Yeah, like I'm sort of like in the middle. Like I don't know. Lots of things going on, and part of me like I'm doing great and I'm super productive, but another part of me is like shitstorm's coming, get ready. So I'm sort of just like getting ready to confront some stuff in life, and takes a while. Takes a while. Hey Waves, good to see you here too. Sarsi, hi. Can I send you the sessions right now? Good luck digging through the library of the whole videos and things I recorded. I can probably look for them right now, but there's like hundreds of records, so good luck following up. So like I'm more, I don't know, like I was checking some games out that like would have some good self-disclosure that we could just chill with. I thought like Assassin's Creed, like the very first one, or like Assassin's Creed 2nd and all this stuff. They had this whole thing with traveling to the past and fighting like those darker forces and just trying to change the timelines. So basically, kind of like getting out of body, time traveling, and time wars and everything like that. And then there's Death Stranding, if I can plug in my PS4 and connect it to the stream right now. So it's like 50-50, like just, I don't know, like a chill stream or Q&A, we'll see what happens. I'm sort of like all over the place, really. Yeah, like I don't have that much white clothes, I guess, but this one is working for me. Samir Yusuf is saying, like, tell us about soul origins. Like, really depends. Like, there's lots of stories, but for me, like, I guess it's just like not that much. It's just like consciousness, simply consciousness existing, and then moving into becoming something or experiencing something, and then from then on expanding into something bigger. Like, oh, just create life and create planets and other things, and then you create the whole game, for example, and then you want to play the game, so you just go into it and act in it and all the stuff. But that'd be like a whole big ass video, I guess. And how are you all people doing? How's your weekend going? Just gonna turn in some music. Well, that was like human origins. But I think it might have some info about it as well. I'm actually like pretty satisfied because like I'm like reading more, and there's like a lot of just like info on self betterment and all. It's always good to learn and get better. So, how many people, if you have pets, cats, dogs, ducks, and all, you know? Oh, family visit, that's good. Yeah, like, I'm sort of chilling as well. My parents are sort of working and all. And, I'm more like working, like, yesterday I'm like, okay, like, after stream, I'm just gonna do a little bit more of work. End up going to bed at 4 a.m. I'm like, oh, that's a bit, late. Woke up at like 7 a.m. So just like, I don't know, maybe lack of sleep or that weirdness shows up in my face or something. And then like the whole day of like doing sessions. Like today I was mainly like after some sessions. One cat, John West, nice. Yeah, so like after some sessions I just like cut out like a lot of videos, like past streams and everything, and thought of more ideas of what to work on and stuff. I was like looking at the self-disclosure thing. Like I know like I want to make like this The Promised Neverland. Some of you might have heard about the anime. It just has tons of good stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, like, if I was to do it, should I do like one longer video, which might be up to 10 minutes or whatever long, right? Or just like cut into the parts, like one part about like certain subject, second part about certain subject, and like just like make about like, I don't know, like 6-7 videos regarding one anime and self-disclosure is given in it, but just sort of like focus, like let's say Promised Neverland will have the whole thing about how should I say, like chipping and barcoding people and all this stuff, and I thought like, discovering that info would be great, but like there's just so much I want to tell people. I'm not sure if I should like make one long video or like just cut them into parts, and for me like maybe both. I have no idea. Like I'm kind of like lost in that like production, like how should I arrange my videos and everything else. So like looking for that balance or what would work for me and people as well. And yeah, just sort of like looking for the good spot. China has a kitty. Lioness have got a dog and leopard gecko. Wow. Cricket. Nice. Okay, so Waves is asking, how can we tell if your higher self is paying attention to this aspect? That's a good question. So when the higher self is paying attention to us, it's more like, let's say we have another aspect of us where there's an overlay higher self or all the possible labels we can put on them, spirit guides and all the stuff, like doesn't matter, like just like whatever label or whoever is there, and if they're watching, like how do we know? Like how do we know, right? So basically for me, I noticed like in life where it seems like I'm always on the right path, or like I'm always sort of protected, I'm always going on the right way, and like feels like, like there can just be tons of incidents and I'm about to do something that might get me involved, or like I might get into some bad stuff, and deep within I get like, oh, I just like boom, different thought, or like I go do something else, and it seems like there's always something leading me a different direction that actually like keeps me safe and everything. So like that's one of the things where you know like basically there's other parts of you trying to make sure you don't fuck up, or there's like no bad stuff going on to you, like physically or other things, like you're safe. Like when I was a kid, I felt like I almost got like kidnapped a few times. Like there's just a car driving and like people sort of like, I'm walking on a sidewalk and there's this car right next to me and they're sort of like following me, like asking questions. I'm like what the hell? So I'm like, bye mister. He just sort of went away, but like it happened a few times, and I'm like, when I was a kid I didn't think about it, but like now like you'll like learn about human trafficking and other things, like what the hell, I'm glad I didn't went there. You know. So that's like one of the things, like, you know, like you're sort of feeling like you're protected, feeling like you're always going the right way, and like, you know, you make the decision to not do something and then later on find out that like, oh wow, because you didn't do it you actually escaped some harsh stuff. So that's like one of those. Also like I would say like some flashes or like simple downloads of information where you're doing something throughout the day and you might hear some phrases or some events will trigger, and you just get like downloads of information where all of a sudden you're talking about stuff that you haven't actually read about or learned anywhere, but you're just coming up with that stuff for like whoa, like how the hell do I know this? And like it's just sort of like you're talking to people or sharing some stuff or like just like thinking about things, and all of a sudden you notice that like, you just have this massive baggage of information and you don't know where it's coming from. So it's like one of those as well. Other signs. Connection, maybe flows of like good emotions and feelings, because like there are parts of us that will be there to make sure we're doing good and not just like are safe and not just getting the good information, but at the same time they're trying to fill us up with more like sort of encouragement in life, or like let's say this whole thing with getting inspired, like, oh, I just got this best idea, and like all of a sudden we feel like we're so freaking smart and like we come up with this great thing, but it's actually another part of us like, hey, take this, it's gonna be useful, and we're like, whoa, I just came up with this, but like I don't know, you just like actually downloaded it, or some other beings are giving it to you. So there's that, like getting this inspiration or ideas, or you know, like things you're coming up with. So it's always that thing as well. What else? Like I'm looking like for other parts. Focusing on my other part, like let's say the higher selves or whatever. What would they do to help me, and how would I notice it? I guess like sort of like maybe enhanced senses. Like you just like sort of are able to connect to other people, pick up what they're thinking, pick up their feeling states and all. Like they literally can be miles away and they're doing something and you just know like something's up with them. So like that kind of connection and sort of like information about certain things also pop up. So like those are just some of the few. If anyone else of you like have that connection with your higher self or anything, like have you received any signs and how do you pick up that like, hey, I'm connected, like, and how do you people know like it's actually working out or like you're actually getting a message? So like I have my own ways of like picking it up, but you as well might have something, so feel free to share, because the more possibilities the better. Male pigeon, that's nice. I actually like, I had this like very interesting interaction with a crow, and I loved it. Like I had this like crow land on my car, and like I just gave him some food and all, but this crow was like just sort of like landed and like literally like we were just like so freaking close, and like it's looking at me like it has so like such beautiful blue eyes and this look and this calmness about it, like just like damn, like this bird is so freaking conscious and aware, and I'm like, I just like that moment where we're looking at each other, connecting, that was like sort of really amazing, and I'm like, I want one, you know, like I want a crow or something, that would be cool. Hey Gabriel, how are you doing? Okay, so Starseed is asking, what if these beings know the same things I'm always being worried about? Or like I'm all like same things I'm always being worried, being watched when I do research to help myself and watch your videos. There's no escape. Like literally, they know it all. Like you just think like, oh, what if I'm being watched and what if they know what I know? It's more than that. Like, don't even worry. Don't bother trying to protect yourself, because oh, don't let me go into this. Basically, there are tons of entities in our space, and they're within us. Like, for example, the food we eat, we get the entities from animals or like other things, and it's within our system. So the same way we have little bacteria, parasites, funguses within our body that are good, that are actually helping us and stuff like that, there are those that like are going to be like, let's say they're copies or something, and little entities living within us, kind of like nanoparticles, not noticeable and all stuff, and they're not going to harm you, they're not going to mess with you and stuff like that, but they're literally there to watch you 24/7. Every single thought you have, everything you feel, all the emotions, they will pick up on everything before you are even aware of it. Every single thought you might have, you're like, oh, I'm gonna do like that thing. And before you even had that thought, before you even like your attention went there, they already picked up on it, and you're like, send, you know? So all of a sudden, like there's just tons of these beings in our space watching us 24/7 on steroids, that you're like, what if they know what I know? Of course they do. It's like, they're freaking advanced. It's not just entities, there are tons of beings who watch humanity, like you, like the clones, the like astral copies and everything else. Like for example, you go into the astral worlds and stuff, and then they clone your body, and now your astral clone, or like it's just there, and they can just experiment with it. They can open you up, look into your Akashic records, see everything you've ever done, everything you've ever said, everything you ever experienced, and they're like, oh, okay, so that's what kind of being she is, or he is. And then they can decide of what they want to do with you, how important you are to them, do they want to mess with you or not, stuff like that. So there's a lot of these things, and to like worry about like, what if they know what I know? It's more than that. They know how you feel, they know your body chemistry, and if you're feeling happy, if you have this dopamine and serotonin going all over the place, if you have oxytocin and you're like feeling great, they're more like, this person is doing too good, let's trigger them. And all of a sudden they will look for the things in the environment, they will look things in your life, how they can mess you up. And if one day you have a great connection with people and you're like, hey, this tastes great, next day they will make sure they're gonna shut you down and like disconnecting from people and like other things. So like, you know, a lot of things go on, and to worry if you're being watched more than you know. Way more. It's going on with absolutely everyone, and it's more like we're just worrying about like, oh, what if they are in our space? there are tons of beings living in the parallels, like parallel realities and stuff like that, where, for example, what we see here on Earth is great, but then we can switch into Astral and we see that, but then there are parallel realities like overlapping with Earth. So for example, Earth is here, but then there's another world over here as well, and if you shift into the right frequency, you're gonna see those beings, you're gonna experience them. So they're basically always there to like sort of like, oh, like hi, we're just like sometimes you're walking through the house and you can feel this like sort of like really cold energy and stuff, like you're like, what the hell? And you just sort of like overlap with the other like parallel universe, like parallel world, and you feel our beings, you're like, ugh, weird. And so you shake it off and you just go on, and the next time you go to the room, it's no longer there. But for a moment there, you were able to merge with them and experience that reality. And you might not see anything, but they do see you, they hear you, they talk to you and everything else. So like there's a lot of that going on. So I can just take it like really long, but to worry like if they know what you know, so what? So what if they do? Like it doesn't matter. You just like live for yourself. Try to do the best out of it, like, and it's not like it's a massive game. Good luck. Island of us, hey Enrique. Clone Ring. Hello. Kim saying, tried to contact me for a year about, damn, let's see, like, resend me an email, because it's just like lots of Kims on my end. Though I think I have it, I'll just ask if you sign off with peace and love. Yes. I'm just gonna write you an email to let you know that like I got it. Alright. Yeah, like I wrote you back, see if you got it as well. Hi Polly, how are you doing? Okay, so Sarsi is asking like what happens when you go into the astral and go to the black hole. Tons of scenarios. It's like what happens when you get out of body? Like what happens when you go to the door? Tons of scenarios. Like for some, black holes or portals and you can go to different spaces. For some, you go to the black hole and you enter the whole different dimension. For some, you go to the black hole and you're stuck into the soul traps and other things. Tons of variations. It's like just another person, another being like you creates a black hole with their own programming, and there's quadrillions of beings out there making their own black holes with their own programs. So to tell you like, oh well, this black hole is like this and this is like this, it's gonna be like, you have to research and be careful. Saying that like it's painful cutting a silver cord and someone wants to be free and it has issues doing it. Silver cord disconnection is not painful at all. Like there's plenty of people that I've met who were humans and who were like, I'm done with this world, and they get out of body, they cut the silver cord and they make sure like they never go back. And for some, like silver cord is if you believe in it, it's a thing. If you don't, it's not a thing. So it's all about the belief system territories. Like same thing with the grid. People are like, oh my god, the grid, how do I get the fuck out? It's like, shut the fuck up and just teleport. Just go, like stop worrying. So like some people will be stuck and someone's like, I don't care, and they teleport and they're out. So the same way as like, you know, like with the silver cord, there are plenty of people who are like done with their life here, they cut it and simply like, oh, okay, bye now, not a single pain. Like, you have to be really messed up to feel pain in the astral, and if you are feeling the pain, you're like actually like really on the lower levels, low frequency, and it's just like, it's a place where you're gonna feel that experience. But if you work with yourself and you get out like the out of body or in the astral, normally you can be shot, you can lose out all your limbs, you can go to black portals, you can go to other spaces, and there's not gonna be pain unless you actually agree like, oh yeah, it will hurt. So like, if you believe about the pain, if you believe that you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna. So like, it's more of a belief system thing, not more than that. Hi Santos, how you doing? Envy the Gamers, Ryjak, good to see you all. Okay, Envy the Gamers is asking like, how do you get free from a succubus? That's a big one. It would be interesting to know how you got one, if you want to share. How is it messing with you? What are some of the signs you get? And like, a lot of aspects, because a lot of times like the beings we're dealing with, they're connected because it's our agreement for them to be here. For example, some people like, hey, I want a friend, or like I want someone to be here for me, I want someone to love me or something, they want sex, and the being comes and satisfies your needs, but because of your agreement for them to get in, now they're in your space and they can mess with you. So like, it all starts with sort of like agreeing into things and all. But apart from that, I would like recommend, if you can, record yourself. When you go to sleep, record the whole thing. Record yourself, because a lot of times people who are getting into, let's say, abductions or some other things, or like possessions, if you record yourself, like a lot of these beings don't want to be seen. So the moment you start recording yourself, like it's already the point of view on them, and you're like, oh shit, like I can't show up tonight, I'll have to wait it out. And like one friend of mine, or like a person I know, was getting abducted like nightly, like really messed up person, and basically started recording himself sleeping, and everything stopped, and he was sort of like, finally I can rest, I don't feel like I'm sort of like, doesn't wake up with scars or other things, just like literally showed like how, for example, he can take a magnet and anywhere in his body is gonna stick, and you have to like really pull it off and stuff like that. So like, there's a lot of that going on. So like, everything stopped and he was able to get better. But sort of like, filming might be a thing. Looking into the origins, okay, you wrote me an email, good. I'll look into it, but like, looking into the origins of the succubus and stuff, I would even go for who is above them. Like, so for example, like the succubus, incubus, and some entities that might be messing with you will be on a certain level, and you have to go to the whole hierarchy. You have to go to the hierarchy, who's above them, who's ordering them around, and try to remove the leader out of the position, because that's where the hierarchy falls apart. I've seen like plenty of realms, for example, where let's say reptilians and others have deals with incubus, succubus. Like, there's just a whole realm with millions of them. It's just like overthrown, like you just like crowds, like what the hell. A lot of these beings out there, and they basically look for people. They look for you and how you're doing in life and your needs. For example, some people are feeling lonely, they want to connect with people, and they want to like, I just like want someone to love me and all this stuff, and they end up inviting like, oh, I want a friend. Well, you didn't say what kind of friend, and succubus and incubus can actually call themselves your friend, and now they get in your space and they start messing with you. So like, just like looking at your belief systems, or trying to reword things, or trying to like sort of proclaim your sovereignty is helpful as well. Like, there's a lot of parts to it, so it really depends on how hard it is for you, like what kind of signs you get, and how can you tell like it's a succubus, what kind of things, like symptoms and all this stuff, and from then on just go into what is it that you're experiencing, the pains, the issues, the hardships, and from then on just sort of like break it down and go at like the core issues. Okay, Enrique's asking like a really good question. What are your thoughts in seeing the same numbers all the time over and over again? Do you know anything about that, and what's your view on it? So yeah, like basically, 11, 11, 12, 12, 22, 22, and stuff like that. It happens all the time. For me, like, when I was younger, when I just started my journey, I started, like, paying attention, like, oh, wow, like, it's a thing, like, what the hell? And as I started, like, researching the numerology, the signs, and what does it mean, and stuff like that, sort of just to get a better understanding. But then, it's like, years went by, and I'm like, cool, you know, like, numbers, yay. So, like, it's more like, what kind of significance do you give to these numbers? Because they're gonna appear all around you, but at the same time, like, what is it to you? Do you want to get a message and do you want to get understanding about life? Do you want to know, like, oh yeah, this is a reminder that, like, I should, like, pay attention to what I'm thinking because it's manifesting. Oh, and that says that I should, like, actually calm down and be really careful. Oh, and that one says, and you're, like, all over the place with and that and that and that and that and, like, all the meanings and how are you reacting to things. And so, like, when I was a kid, 14 and stuff, like teenager actually, I, like, paid maybe, like, too much attention and gave, like, a bit of too much significance to the point where, like, why am I doing that? Like, it's like, okay, like, what am I getting from it? Is that actually helping me? Am I, like, really tracking the signs or what? And for me, like, I end up into, okay, it's there. It's good. Like, from time to time, I can, like, yeah, there's that number. And really, like, you know, like, a lot of people, like, read up on numbers, and some people, like, see 666, and they're like, oh my god, Satan and shit like that, and they get all scared and feel bad about it. Like, oh, it's, like, a really bad sign. Like, I should stop and go home and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, so some people read up on stuff and they hear the negative story. Some people read up on the stuff and it's all about love and connection, and for them it's a good thing. So it's like, really, like, what kind of meaning do you give to these numbers? And at the same time, it's like, okay, it's just numbers. Like, it doesn't really have that much significance in life, because eventually it's like, what do you do about those things? What do you focus on? What do you want to do with all of it? And we're like, for me, it's not a big deal. It's just like, okay, I've seen it for a while, I know the meanings, but that's where it ends. Like, I don't like give that much of significance in my life. If you are feeling kind of lost, or you're looking for answers and you want some support and stuff like that, then you can actually sort of, like, make a thing for yourself. Like, oh, okay, like, every time I'm gonna see 1111 is gonna mean this. Every time I see, like, this number is gonna mean this. And basically, you, for yourself, are gonna create the rules, but now, as you experience life, you will see those numbers all around you to know what's going on, and you'll be able to sort of, like, okay, so when I, like, think of 1111, for me it's manifestation. When I think about this number, it means that. And now as you go in life, you will see those numbers all around you, and you can sort of, like, read the environment and what's going on if you need signs. But not more than that. It's more like just like, yay, a number, cool. So, like, I don't want to give it too much significance. It's just like, eventually gets old and boring. And what does it do to you? Like, do you find help and you actually feel empowered and you actually, like, oh, that was helpful, now I can, like, do stuff? Is that actually a reminder and stuff like that? Or you're actually like, yo, yay, I saw a number and there's a meaning behind that, but, like, my life didn't change because of it. Astral Monkey is saying, I feel like, I've only rarely felt pain, and even then it could make it stop hurting on command. Like, we were probably talking about the Astral and stuff like that. And that's good, that's exactly the thing. Like, you know, like, if you give in, if you start thinking about it, focusing on it, you basically give in and give the significance of the pain, like, oh, it's hurting, and the more you focus, the more you manifest it. But more like, oh yeah, pain, not hurting on me, on my end, and you cut it off, and it's not bothering you anymore. So, it's definitely a thing. Like, I'm glad you're sharing your experience. Santos is saying, had grace, they pinched my shoulder and neck muscles really hard. When I was waking up, saw who it was with the pendulum, and it actually hurt and startled me, but it went away after a bit. Right, like, I'm glad you're noticing those things, like, paying attention to who's doing what to you, and, like, how are they affecting, how do you feel after that, and that ability to actually see them and to sort of recall things is really good, because you can sort of, like, just keep track on who might affect you and in what way. Meredith is asking, like, is this matrix about to break down? Yeah, there's a lot of wars going on, and a lot of good guys are doing the best they can to fight off, let's say, the bad guys or the forces that are trying to dominate and control people and all. So there's a lot of, like, with all these fights, there is this massive shift. And a lot of people are like, even in yesterday's comments, are like, oh, like, December 21st, big deal, we're gonna, like, this is the end and stuff like that, and like, oh, you know, like, I would just go with, like, don't give in to any possible fears. It's like you yourself choose your life and your destiny. And for example, like literally it's all about belief system territories, but because some people are like, oh yeah, like there's gonna be a giant meteorite falling, or like we might have storms and everything else, and a lot of people will die. And those who live in fear will experience it, but those who are like, no, not on my end, actually life is good. You don't deny that, like, it's not existing or anything else, like that don't deny the problems, but more like, with your beliefs, you create your own reality and redirect the whole collective to the point where, you know, like some people will talk about the end of the world and this massive shift and how people are gonna die and stuff like that, and you're like, nah, it's gonna be good, we're gonna win, life is gonna change. And with that, you choose to go to the timeline where things you think about is actually gonna manifest. And, you know, like, people are talking about, like, this whole massive shift and, like, the end and all this stuff. Like, no, like, don't worry about things. Simply empower yourself. Like, oh, yeah, that date, we're gonna actually have a lot of, like, sort of empowerment and a lot of knowledge coming out, and people who are bad will be exposed and other things. And you just sort of, like, program your reality, but you choose to go to that timeline that you want to, and don't give in to fear. Like, sort of live empowering yourself. Yeah, exactly, John. Like, I have, like, people I'm sort of living with, and some of them, like, you know, sort of like have relatives or those they know, and they talk about, like, these massive events that are gonna happen, like even like shootouts and stuff like that, and even being able to talk to dead people, they're like, oh yeah, there was this massive explosion and a lot of people died, and you just, like, hear the story, but then the same person who chose different timeline are saying, no, it was great actually, like a lot of, like, celebration stuff like that. So, like, two different people, one actually passed away through all those incidents, one that actually chose a different reality and is really happy with it. So it's all about choosing your own timeline. Kazak is saying, can you please archive and record these live streams? I do not want to miss an ounce of information you have to share. Yeah, I think, like, if you go to my YouTube channel and there's, like, a button like uploads, so, like, if you click an arrow down, like, on uploads, it's gonna show you, like, uploads and past live streams and stuff like that, so you can definitely find it. At the same time, like, when I'm editing videos, I try to cut out, like, for example, like, with the question asked and the answer I give, like, I just cut it out and upload it. And Kazu is also asking, like, do hell exist? Yes, but with hell, we have to remember that it's, like, there's a lot of them. For example, each and every one of you might have heard of a story about heaven and hell and what it's like, but then at the same time, a lot of you live in different cultures and different families, and the beliefs about what heaven or hell might be like will be a little bit different. And then at the same time, we tend to read books and articles and other things and, like, have our own understanding, so there are people who will think of hell in one way and the other way. You might have your own scenario, but eventually what it leads to is, like, basically your thoughts, your imagination, your visuals create reality. And while you might like, okay, so there's this hell, and this is what it looks like, and a lot of people like, oh, it's just fire, and a lot of, like, and Satan is there, and, like, you know, like, you just hear this religious thing, and then they're like, oh, but then there's another person saying, like, that hell is here on earth, and there's, like, a lot of war going on. And so each person that thinks about hell and sort of visualizes it with detail and how it looks like has ability to create one out there, which means that 7 billion people here on Earth that can create scenario or the visuals of how hell looks like, they can manifest it out there, and there will be tons of different possibilities. So hell does exist, but there are tons of different versions. and it's up to you which one you're gonna connect to. And you can literally, like, oh, just because you die doesn't mean you're gonna go there, hell or heaven and stuff like that. It's just basically belief system territory. And you can sort of like, oh yeah, I believe that hell is like this, so your belief system territory creates this one little bubble of existence. But then there's like over quadrillions of these little bubbles of hell versions, and you can look like, oh, this hell I like, no, don't, nah, meh, meh. Oh, this one looks nice, and you go to hell and it's basically like lots of pretty beings and like sort of like sex and everything. Like you're like, oh, this is fun, and you're like basically checking things out. And then you look about like heaven, and how do people visualize heaven? Is it all cloudy and like streets of gold and everything else, or is it like different? And the way people would visualize hell, like again, tons of different versions. Same thing with Earth. Some people are like, oh, well, Earth is flat, Earth is hollow, Earth is like the donut, Earth is like this, and like tons of different versions of Earth. People get out of body, and depending on the kind of frequency they tune in, what kind of reality they tune in, they will see the different versions, they will see the different experiences. So whether it's hell, heaven, or something else, depending on what you tune into, you will find different versions. Yeah, Lantabalis is like asking, should I not be afraid of death? You should not. Like, it really depends again on your belief system territory. But there are plenty of people who had near-death experiences, who did pass away and then tried to contact people who are alive to share their experiences. There are plenty of people who get out of body and do these simulations of death and all this stuff. Tons of scenarios and tons of stories. And eventually it's all about your belief system territory. Like for some people, you know, like, okay, simply be aware that like the white light is a trap. There might be some beings trying to talk you into reincarnating. Don't listen to them. They are not interested in your own well-being. And simply like sort of like, when your physical body drops dead, you have possibilities to be completely free. To go wherever you want, do whatever you want, and experience life to the fullest. No need to sort of reincarnate or do something else. You simply can choose a place that you want to live in. And you think of the best case scenario, like, okay, if I was to live my dream life, what would it be like? And you sort of like think of the planet, or like let's say a place, how it would look like, people involved, or animals, or what would you do, what would it be like? And simply thinking about it, like you focus on it and you have an intention to shift there, you teleport and you're out. And it doesn't hurt. Your case is completely gone. You are completely free from all those thoughts and worries and concerns. And it's just like, it's really freeing. If for those that had like, let's say, out-of-body experience or near-death experience, basically if right here on Earth you have tons of worries and concerns and problems going on, once you're out, not a single thing from here comes with you. It's like all those issues is gone. All of your worries, gone. And it's so freaking quiet. There's no chit-chat going on and all this stuff. It's just like, wow. It's so quiet. It's so calming. It's so vivid. So cool. And once you go out, it's just like, okay, well, maybe it's complete void and you don't, like, it's pure blackness. But you look around or you think about, like, things you want to experience, and it's gonna appear. And you have the full freedom to go there. So, it's not about, like, the fear. And like also like he's saying, I'm not afraid of death, but I'm afraid of drowning, cutting, and pain. Well, that's the thing, like, depends on what kind of death we're talking about. You know, like, are you like into or some other ways, but like really like it really depends on, like, the physical body might experience pain depending on the scenario of death, but after that it's pretty much like freedom. Okay, so Lionless of Gaia is saying, when I email you for a deep scan, does the picture I send need to be taken now, or can it be taken a few years old? Are you reading the energy or of the photo, or just using it to call and connect to me? Yeah, so like the photo can be few years old, it doesn't matter. It's more like I see you as a being so that I could visualize you better and connect specifically to you and not some other aspects. Like I can do work on you and sort of like if I connect to anyone else I read about your stuff, but like I don't have a picture of you. So for example, I'm just gonna sort of like draw a human body, but it might be more than you, like, you know, like you and someone else as well who might have the same issues or names and stuff like that. So if I have specifically you, I'm just gonna like focus in specifically on you and do more work, and by your like looks I can actually connect to more past lives and get more details. So like it does help to connect for the better. Okay, so Maria is asking, could you recommend exercises on how to see energy? There's a lot of exercise. Like in the past videos and streams, I did talk about how, for example, you just calm down and you are in this natural state, and simply, whether you're looking at your own hand or some other people in the room, sort of just, for example, you have your hand like this, right? And so you're just sort of looking at your hand and relaxing to make sure your whole state of beingness is like no good or like emotions like, yay, I'm super happy today, I'm so excited, come on, energy, where's the energy? Like you can't be excited, and being depressed also does not help, because more like come on, it's just not working, and you're sort of like depressed and you're not feeling good, so like that whole emotional state will affect the energy. So you have to basically let go of your feelings, of your thoughts, and sort of like get in this neutral position where you don't think about stuff and you're sort of like in this neutral. And now when you're focusing, let's say, on your own hands, or let's say you're just like standing close to the wall and sort of like see yourself like in the mirror, for example, or you look at other people, you are in this neutral place. And then all of a sudden, like around your hand or like around other people, like you will see sort of like this energy pop up, and it's gonna be like around your finger. And if you move it, you can see it move with your fingers. And with that, it's basically try to sort of focus and imagine how the whole energy flows into your hand, and you will see it extend. So like that's like part one, and simply like sort of like trying to lose the thoughts. Like a lot of people are thinking non-stop about life, about things going on, about how they feel and things they want and all this stuff. If you can let go of thoughts and simply be in that quiet mind, simply by watching yourself, other people, or the environment, and staying in this quiet place where you just sort of let go of your own beingness, of yourself, you will start noticing more things. And all of a sudden, even like trees and leaves and like other life forms will have their own energy, and the more you focus on it, simply let's sort of like focus and try not to be all over the place. But like even like when walking on a street, you can sort of like look at specifically tree in the distance, and the closer you get, the more like aware you become of the energy popping out. So like that's like one of the things. Another, I would say like practicing opening the third eye. It's not a must be. It's not like the key thing to seeing things. It's like, oh, like I have to open my third eye to see things, to get the clairvoyance, to become more intuitive, to get out of body. Like, no. It's a tool to help you out, but you can do it all even without it. So like opening all the chakras and doing all the special work and stuff like that, like it's a tool, and it doesn't mean it's gonna limit you on everything. So like if it's working for you, cool. If it's not, like that doesn't mean anything. But besides that, let's see, like energy work on yourself, like letting go of your own problems and issues. For example, you might do some energy work to get rid of entities, or like simply audit yourself and get rid of some of your issues, some of the limiting beliefs and fears. The better you become within, the more you release of that other side and other clusters, fantasies and stuff like that, and sort of you become open to the world. And this is where you're like for example, sort of like finally start fitting in with the energy to see it. Because like a lot of people live in this like everyday life where they're so freaking focused on the problems they're experiencing and all the stuff that's like overwhelming, and they just can't allow themselves to see past that. You have to let go of the physical world for a moment. It doesn't mean like you have to go into supernatural or get out of body or anything. It's more like all the problems you have, take care of the present time problems. If you have something important to take care of, like get rid of that and finally start focusing on yourself in life. Meditations, some energy work would be a thing. Eating healthier, that would like sort of like more alkaline food and all that stuff would help as well. So things like that. Okay, Mike has an interesting question. How can one break hypnotic controls from the other entities when having an out-of-body experience? If you are out of body and you have noticed that there are some sort of commands that are controlling you, it would be really great if you paid attention and found out what it is specifically. What kind of commands? Is it like stopping your visuals? Is it like pushing you back into the body? What's going on? How are these commands affecting you? If you are aware, like, hey, I know like when I get out, there's a specific phrase coming up, specific event happening that always stops me, always pushes me back to the body. Like, what are the hypnotic controls? What's going on? So if you can become aware of it and break down what's going on specifically into like the details, like, oh, okay, so here comes this being, like every time I'm in an out-of-body experience and stuff like that, you start finding like, okay, so this being comes over and they say a specific phrase, and all of a sudden I lose control, I can't see as much. And by looking at the scenario and what's going on, you simply focus like, okay, here's the thing, I'm gonna write down the signs, and once you are aware of it, that's where the work begins. You're like, okay, you don't have to get out of body to solve the problem, because you can do it all here in the physical while being fully awake and aware. And from then on, like, okay, so here's the specific phrase they might say, like, you know, like, let's say, what would be the thing? A lot of people, like, let's say, get out of body naturally, but they don't see anything. What they see is complete blackness. They see, like, so pure blackness, and they're like, oh, well, it's pitch black, so I can't visualize. I'm probably, like, I'm not even out of body. So, like, a lot of people, like, see the blackness, and a lot of times it's just sort of, like, blindfold or the command, or simply, like, a projection for us to see blackness around, the construct and stuff like that. So, like, a lot of these things will affect what we're seeing and experiencing, and we have to make sure, like, okay, so what happens, like, when I get out of body, it's complete blackness, and it might be I have not a control or something to not see the real reality, sort of, like, controlling the blackness, or not see anything, or, like, not look at things, and keep my eyes closed or something like that. So you look at that, and you maybe find like relations to, okay, I want to sleep, I want to rest, and I want to experience the other life, but I do want my sleep, I do want to finally sort of like just relax and rest. And that whole thing with you wanting to sleep, you want to sleep in the physical, but your body follows with, I want to sleep out there as well, and you will not be able to get out, you will not be able to like get all those things. So like it's really like has a lot to do with what kind of things you notice. And by noticing, like, let's say hypnotic commands or like specific phrases people are saying and all this stuff, then you can sort of break down like origins, so where does it come from, entities connected, any agreements possible. So like doing entity removal, subconscious removal work and all this stuff might help as well. And then like auditing yourself, like maybe like recalling your past lives, or simply like what does that phrase mean to you. And if it's like an action or a feeling state, anything that ends with ing, you can sort of like audit yourself with what might be some reasons for blah blah blah, and simply answering your questions to get to the core of the issue. You can break it down and finally find the truth, like, oh, so that's why this is going on. And by your awareness, it's like all those entities and bad beings out there, they're like cockroaches, and your consciousness is this like a light. So whenever you become aware of a problem, of what's going on, the cockroach that was like trying to mess with you, you shine a light, your awareness on it, you become aware of this, and you're like, oh shit, like run, and they have to like run away and like stop messing with you, otherwise you can, you know, like take your slipper and step on them or something. So there's that. Okay, Andres is saying, I'm visualizing these guardians every time I go to sleep, still waking up with horrible cramps in the neck, but since then remembering my dreams a little bit better. Okay, so now you are doing some protection, and you can sort of protect from some of the attacks. Maybe the guardians are being overwhelmed, or they're so busy being distracted by someone else that they can't help you because of this whole like cramp thing. But you have to sort of look, where does it come from? When does it start? Where does it come from? One of the things I would suggest again, like maybe try filming yourself when you go to sleep, because a lot of entities don't want to be seen. A lot of like beings and all this stuff, like they're like sort of like trying to be avoided, like so like they would sort of like fall back from that. But at the same time, I would try to look into any possible crab beings, or let's say this being like an octopus, a snake-like being, like something that could wrap around your neck and sort of like squeeze you, strangle you a little bit. There will be a lot of beings, a lot of entities who know what you're capable of, and will try to sort of like mess with you. You know, it's like, oh, like, okay, so like they might try to strangle you, or maybe it's not even the physical body suffering, but let's say you might have some clones out there, astral clones, or like bodies out there, or aspects of yourself that are being messed with, and since then, like, you know, like your other parts can be messed with, but it's working like a voodoo doll effect that whatever happens to your other part there, you're the one picking it up here. So they might mess with you and like try to, you know, sort of like strangle you, stop you in some of the ways. So, waking up with the cramps in the neck. For myself, if this would happen, I would sort of like try looking into where's it coming from? Like, what's the source? What happens? How? Why am I getting this? And like first thing I saw was this sort of like an entity, again, sort of like mixed between kind of like a snake and an octopus, where something's like slippery but long and like sort of able to like wrap around your neck. These beings might try to sort of like latch onto you and sort of like drain your energy or other things, but they're the ones that sort of like affect your physical body. So like literally looking into the issues, when it happens to me, for example, I wake up and I'm doing things throughout the day, but for example, like this headache out of the blue or some kind of pain, I'm like, whoa, like it's not natural for me to get those things. And I know, like, if I'm getting any kind of pain, a headache or something, I'm being sort of like attacked, so I can sort of look for the source, like where's it coming from, like who's attacking me, like, or for example, like I'm doing a session and like when doing sessions like this happens a lot. For example, like a lot of beings that or people that I'm like working on, they are being messed with. So I'm looking like, okay, who's doing that? Like, and when I'm finally noticing the truth, they're like, oh shit, like we have to stop her. So they're trying to cause the headaches, and I'm like, oh, like I feel the headache right here. Where's it coming from? And all of a sudden I get this visuals of like either the spaceship or some secret space, or like underground base and other things, like, or like specific beings, like who's there. And I'm like, okay, here, I see stuff. And so like, I would say, like, if you have horrible cramps in your neck, or each and every one of you, you're looking like, oh, well, I wake up and here is this pain in my body, wherever. So you, like, first thing, ask yourself, where's it coming from? Like, what is the source? And you, when you're looking for information, you have to give yourself a command to look for it. For example, what's the source of the horrible cramps in the neck? What's the source of the headache in my back? Or like, let's say, back of the head, or like, let's say, backache, or like some other sort of stuff that might happen to you. But so, like, you give yourself a command to look for the specific issue and where is it coming from. But the thing is, your consciousness, you give the command, your consciousness is like, oh, okay, yes, and like a little puppy, like, yes, boss, goes looking for all the stuff, and then, like fetching a ball, you might get the picture, you might get an idea, you might get a telepathic thought, like, where is it coming from, how does it look like, who's doing that, and you might get this, like, oh, well, yeah, like, I see this kind of, like, turtle being, or like, oh, like, a reptilian, or like, gray, or something. So, like, it doesn't matter, but, like, it doesn't matter what happens, but the first thing you get, like, whether it's visuals, whether it's a thought or something else, follow that. Follow, like, you're like, oh, I get this, like, image of this thing, or like, I get, like, it's this thing, and you come up with an idea or a thought, just follow that, go with it. Don't, like, try to be logical, like, oh, well, nah, I'm just, like, making shit up. No, fuck it. Fuck all the logic, fuck the rules, simply follow, like, I got this idea or a thought, and you go with that. And as you're exploring, as you're going deeper, what's the source of it, you might see some entities, you might see some beings, and you might get like a little visual or just a thought. But the thing is, now that you sort of got it, try to focus on it. Who's involved? What kind of beings do you see? The visuals, what's involved? Because the more focused you get into that little scenery that you might have seen, or little thought you got, your attention, your consciousness shifts there, right there in that scenery, in that place. And now, you, part of you is there, experiencing things. So now, you can talk to those beings, you can tell them like, hey, you're messing with me, like it hurts. And you can give them a threat, like stop messing with me, stop causing me headaches or like cramps in my neck, because I can't handle it anymore, and if you keep doing that, I will destroy you. So you can give them a warning, you can give them a threat if you want, if you're like, sort of like, are trying to be nice. No, you can give them a warning and make sure like they stop. But if you're like, nah, I don't like these beings, and you can literally unmock them, uncreate them, destroy them, whatever fits best for you. So you might have, like, let's say, some sort of like pain, and then you give your consciousness a command to look for it, to find the source, to find information, and your consciousness gets the command of what to do. It goes looking, find the origins of this headache, find the origins of this like neck pain. It goes looking, it finds, you get either telepathic thought, you get the idea, you get the picture, you zoom into that, like sort of like try to notice as many details as you can, and from then on expand into maybe talking to those beings, maybe getting some information, or simply dealing with it, and then cutting off every possible thing. Like, for example, cutting off the cords, cutting off any connections, any deals, and just basically destroying them. And at the same time, as you do the whole process, if you deal with a certain group, whether it was like a thought of something or you visualize it and saw them, once you deal with the group, look for their higher-ups. Literally someone above them, someone giving them controls, commands, and stuff like that. And whoever is above them, try to get rid of them as well. And literally the whole chain, like as many as you can see, get rid of them, because they're the ones who will make it come back. For example, this group might mess with you and you get rid of them, but there's going to be another group like who is led by some higher-ups who have tons of these groups. So if you can get rid of the whole, let's say, hierarchy, that will help you tremendously. So yeah, that'd be like one of the ways I would sort of suggest you to deal with it. Like having the whole like guardians in your room that can protect you is great, but it might not work for everyone to that like massive extent. So it's a start like to get some benefits, but if it doesn't work, look for other ways. By the way, Mike, thank you for the massive donation. Appreciate it. Okay, we have Sean and First Contact. Who else? Who is new here? Dimensional Whale, Elias, Black Witch, Lower One. You can see y'all. Okay, so like I'm gonna give a little rest for my throat because I was talking a lot, and then we can move into the other subjects. Kazak is saying, is Archangel Michael a real entity? I have seen a blue glow 3 times since my experiences with the Succubus started. Apparently that's how he shows himself. Yeah, the thing is, like, a lot of like these beings that we know might simply show themselves as little orb or simple light, and they might not have the humanoid looking body. And we're like, oh, well, why is that? Well, the thing is, the consciousness doesn't really have a shape or like a shape or form. And it's going to be like simply point of view. From then, the conscious can choose like, well, I simply am a point of awareness, point of view, but you can get the body, so you can become like an energy, or like you can see them like as a conscious who's like, let's say, in your surroundings, and you notice them as orbs or sort of energy balls and all this stuff. You're like, oh, there's this being, and you know their presence, or you might know them, like, you know, you might know who they are, but a lot of these beings don't like try to not reveal their looks, or they simply come in the real shape, which is like simply like consciousness. So like some people might see it as an energy ball, but from then on they can shapeshift and get the body of specific being who looks like whatever. So it is totally normal to see the glowing ball and all this stuff, and if you know who it is, then you can sort of like see like, okay, well, what do I do with this, you know? Like, so there's like a lot of beings out there who can, like, let's say, use the label of Archangel Michael or Gabriel or Metatron and like all of these beings, and then use the label to do whatever they want. So they are real, but there's like plenty of those imposters and just the whole armies of these like archangels and other beings being used. And like the real like archangels and like those godlike beings are like not even playing in the third dimension. It's more like their clones or little puppets or like little aspects of them, but the real beings are out there doing their own thing. It's like by now, like, oh, they have a little aspect of me there, cool, but they're not engaging in the real deal, you know. By the way, Andromeda, did you get my email? I wrote to you regarding your experiences. Hi Angie, good to see you here. guess I'm just sort of like reading what people are saying here and scrolling down for their questions. Yeah, okay, let's see. Oops. Yep. Yeah, I'm looking for your emails, Theo, if that's how I say your name, but yeah, I got it. I think I got it. I'll have to start so that like I don't drop it. Oh, cool. I do got emails though. That's a good thing. Oh, Kazakh is saying, how do I have an out-of-body experience and is it dangerous? Whew, okay, it's a big topic. Lots of things to talk about. So when it comes to getting out of body, I like comparing it to working out. I like comparing it to working out because it's really like growing muscles. A lot of people think of like out-of-body experience, astral projection, and lucid dreaming is the end result. This is where you start seeing six-packs. This is where you start like, oh, I finally got it. Damn, all these months of every single day workout is finally paying off. And you literally have to know that like what you want is a six-pack. What you want is getting out of body, and this is the end result. You're not thinking about the process in between where you're spending months every single day working out and doing things to get yourself to wanted results. Knowing that, okay, getting out of body, you are freaking lucky if you get out of body trying one technique once and, oh, I did it, yeah, for the first time. You're gonna be freaking lucky if that happens. But knowing that, like, okay, getting out of body, for most people, will be one hell of a hard journey. It's not easy, it's not fun, it takes a lot of time for most people. So, if you want to get out of body, you have to know, like, you have to put the work in. If you want to look good in front of the mirror, like, if you want to see your own muscles, you know it, like, I will have to work out, I will have to eat, I will have to have a nice routine and take care of myself and do tons of different things to get there. Now that you know, like, okay, so this is the end result I want, what happens? So, there are tons of things that you can do in between regarding taking care of yourself. And first thing, getting out of body is not dangerous. Getting out of body, astral projection, lucid dreaming is not dangerous, but one thing you have to know is that you might become targeted. Because, for example, each and every one of you here, you're like a godlike being. You're super powerful. You are a freaking genius of absolutely everything. You are like the Superman, Superwoman, and you have tons of abilities. But at the same time, because you are so freaking awesome, you are a target, because you're a threat, because you have abilities that other beings don't have, because you can do that others can't, and knowing that, it's like, if you get out, you get this enormous information about what's going on, and you can, like, whatever you're interested in life. For example, like, oh, like, what does the earth look like? Well, what about these species? What about all those things? You look at what, like, you know, like, for example, like, things you're interested in. And when you get out, you can find all of it. You can, like, be the next Nikola Tesla. You can get out and come back with blueprints, come back with tons of information, come back with, you've learned how to play piano, you've learned how to sing, you've learned how to play drums and other things. You come back with a whole script for a movie or a book or something else, and you're just like bringing enormous information, blueprints, and skills back here. Because each and every one of you can do that, you are freaking dangerous. They don't want awesome beings like you having those abilities. They don't want you to do good in life. They don't want it. They, being the beings who want to, let's say, dominate the world, and we can call them, like, put labels on, like, oh, like groups of reptilians and other beings, but there's like plenty of those, like archons and demiurges and stuff like that, and like tons of labels to call them whatever, to sort of like, okay, that's the target that we know, like, they don't like us, you know. But from then on, you know, the only thing that is dangerous is that you are a threat to them, and once you get out, they are scared. And what do scared people who are bullies do? they try to abuse you. And the way they will try to abuse you is use a scary face. They will try to put a scenario where they might scare you, or they might cause issues in your life where some people will say certain things to trigger you, to make you feel bad. But that's pretty much like how far they can go with trying to scare you and stop you from getting out of body, or simply having more daily issues in life. As in, okay, you're trying to do your project, you're trying to play a thing, you're writing your script and something, and you get a call from a person you haven't seen for 20 years, and all of a sudden, this massive project you had planned for years, and you're doing it, you're finally feeling inspired, and you're getting interrupted by someone who's like out of the blue showed up in your life, and you're like, really? What do I do now? And sort of like stops your flow, stops everything. So like there are a lot of these beings who know how awesome you are, and they don't want you to do good. Because the better you do, the more chances you have to not only break free from this control system, but at the same time, each and every one of you, you're already creating ripples. And from ripples, you can make waves. From waves, you can just cause this massive wave of awakening, of freedom. And while you yourself are working on fixing yourself and getting better, if you reach your wanted results, you inspire others. And then you create this massive wave of people waking up, getting better, inspiring each other, doing something to get together. And that's a thing, you know, like they don't want that. They don't want the unity. They don't want people to love each other. They don't want kindness. They want you to suffer. They want you to be disappointed, to be unhappy, to be depressed. And they're every single time, everything they can do, they will try to push you there. If they can't affect you, they will try to affect your surroundings to mess with you. That being said, like these are the only dangers that might come in. As in, like, you might get sort of like interruptions. You might get some scary faces because that's all they can do. You're a godlike being. All they have to do is to try to affect your belief system. They're trying to affect what you think about and try to make you think that you are powerless, that you can't do anything, that you can't do all that. But you can. And the thing is, like, they're constantly, like, every single day, we are being programmed that we're not good enough, or there's, like, chaos, and people are not good, and people are fighting, but more like, you're like, oh, we have war with this country, we hate them, and you're like, who wants to fight? No one wants freaking wars. It's like the government is someone at the top who's not happy, so if you want to go, like, into a box ring and solve your problems, but why do we, normal people, have to go there? And they try to, like, push the picture into, oh, we're hating each other, and like this race hating God and stuff like that. So like constantly, like every single day, we have like tons of these programs all around us to try to trigger us, to try to think that like the world is bad, that people are not good to each other and all this stuff. But that's the thing, it's simply controlling your perspective. Once you know, like, oh, I love myself and I want to give others that love, and we create this massive chain of connection where people love each other, where people are helping each other. And then, when that happens, they're fucked. Because they can't do anything. Because people have the power, not the governments. You have the power, each and every one of you. That being said, like, these are the only dangers that might come with it. But then, the whole getting out of body thing is a massive journey. It's a massive journey. And you have to understand that there's a lot of things involved. Like, what works for me might not work for you. What works for another person might not work for you and all this stuff. So, like, there are tons of things that you can do to get your wanted results, but you have to work at it. That being said, tons of little things that you can practice every single day. Tons. And I think, like, I even have this little script or, like, little things I wrote down once. Yeah, like, it's basically, you know, it starts with the physical activities where, I'm just gonna keep it here. Physical activities where, you know, you're taking care of yourself, like, for example, working out, drinking water, eating healthier and stuff like that. One of the bigger things is, like, literally keeping the dream journal, because once you keep the dream journal, even though it's tedious, even though you're more like, I hate doing that, I hate waking up, I hate this and stuff like that, it's okay. No one's like, yeah, I'm gonna wake up and write a dream journal, yeah, I'm gonna record my dreams. It's like, Jesus, I don't want to get up, I'm so freaking comfy in my bed, and it's warm and snuggly, and we're like sort of sinking with that comfort, and who wants to get out of bed to wake up in the middle of the night to write down the dream? No one. Like, no one's like that, but we know that all the good things in life, if it's healthy for you, it's probably not that like, oh, it's so yummy, yay, like, you know, like it's like a Only unhealthy food is more like, you know, like you just blast with how good it is, but the healthy food is like, you know, so like really depends. But anyway, so like the whole like keeping the dream journal, even though a lot of people don't like it and it's not that fun to do, it is really important because it starts with you paying attention to what's going on. It starts with you becoming aware. Hey, I am dreaming. Hey, this thing is happening. And when you keep the dream journal, it's not just to track your dreams and like, oh, like what a nice history I had, this like useless dream when I was in the car driving nowhere, how sweet. It's not about the basically the story there, even though you can find some patterns, but basically the main idea is recording your dreams to become aware of the details. And now once you start writing down like, oh, well, I was in the forest, it was like at night and there was like lots of stars in the sky, stuff like that, and sort of the more details you can write within the journal about what you are experiencing, not just what you saw, but what you felt, who were you talking to, the conversations you had, the more details you can share, all of a sudden, next time you dream, you automatically start paying attention. You automatically wake up and you become more lucid and awake within the dream, to the point where you, from simple dream, go into the lucid state and you're like, hey, I'm dreaming. Whoa, really? Can I fly? And all of a sudden you start flying and you can teleport and you can do tons of things. So clearly, becoming more aware of what's going on and practicing the memory gives you these abilities where in the dream you become more aware. In the dream you start paying more attention, and even though you were doing some tedious ass work, finally you're seeing results within the dream where you get the control, where you get to do what you desire. And from then on you can build into getting out of body and stuff like that. But these are like simple things where, let's say, the diet, what you do throughout the day, the creativity, the dream journal, and other little things that you can do every single day to practice to get there. But then there are also like tons of little things where, you know, like for example, like velvet technique and tons of other things like separating the bodies, mock-up technique, let's see, affirmations, oddball, chalkboard drill, sleep paralysis, like tons of little things that will get you there. But once you're out, man, you can be the next Nikola Tesla. You heard how like Paul McCartney dreamed up like the song of like yesterday, and he woke up and wrote it all, and like now it's a hit. Well, you can do that too, each and every one of you. So like getting out of body, doing astral projection, lucid dreaming, and all this stuff is a hard thing to do for most people. It's tedious, it's not fun, it's not like really exciting. But the more you practice and try to work at it, you can get your wanted results. And it's not just to have fun. Of course, like for some people, they had so many issues in life, they want to sort of like disconnect. And when you get out, you can have fun. You can have sex, you can have your wanted family, you can have your perfect life, you can meet your puppies, for example. If they're animals or people that you've lost, that you miss so much, you can meet them, you can talk to them, you can check up on them. You're like, oh, wow, they're doing great. Or like, you're sort of like, oh, they're reincarnated, cool. And so like, you can see how other people are doing. You can get out of body and literally go be here on Earth and go to certain places that you wanted to visit for a long time. You can go to Egypt, you can go to Area 51, you can go to some other places, you can actually check how Jeff Bezos is doing or something else. You can actually go and see some other people having a shower, like, whoa, ooh, you know, like, so like all these possibilities, but like that's like just having fun. Literally going into the world where, for example, you know, like some people like anime, some people like gaming, some people like movies and all this stuff, but literally you can like go into that fantasy world and live with them. You can meet your like beloved characters, you can spend time there, you can sort of have your own scenario with the wanted characters and sort of have your own like life there, come back and you're like, wow, that was freeing. But at the same time you can go out and learn about your past lives, about who you were in the past, what you did, like your history. And then at the same time bring information, learn tons of skills, learn new languages, learn how to play music on certain instruments, how to code, how to write, how to do other things. And next thing you know, you're an engineer, you're a programmer, you're something else, and you just come back with tons of skills. So like, it's a worthy journey if you want to get something out of it. And for example, like for me, man, like for me, like I'm mainly using to do work on myself and other people, like getting out of body, and simply like doing the energy work. For example, like people might have headaches, people might go through some issues in life where they're completely limited. And I've had stories of people who were like completely homeless and life is like fucked up in tons of ways, and just 1 hour working on the person everything changes. They finally get a job, they get their own apartment, they get tons of other things, and like things change into like this sort of like personal place. But at the same time, people get like their body fixed. Like for example, like no more headaches. The person who lived like 30 years with heart issues all of a sudden stops, no more, can breathe, can like do normally, can act and all this stuff. So there's a lot that can happen, and like it's literally each to every one of you to what you want to do out there. And for example, you reflect on yourself and sort of like, oh, I might have some problems in life where, you know, like you feel like you're stuck, you feel like what's my purpose, why am I here? And you can find it all out there. You can like have this massive libraries of information. And for me, I think like getting out of the body, it's good for finding information, it's good for learning, it's good for having fun, but at the same time, you know, you hear me talk about things. You might watch other people, you might read tons of books, and you're like, well, yeah, I have tons of people, like tons of scenarios, but what is real? Is what you're saying is real? I like the story, but like I don't know for myself. If you get out, you will experience it for yourself. You will see it with your own eyes. You can literally go back in time and watch the World War events or like other things, like literally time travel. See your like past, like your grandparents or like great grandparents, and like just the whole timeline of your whole like all the relatives and ancestry, or like literally back in time into the very beginning. Like doesn't matter. So like tons of possibilities. And the best thing is that it's easy for me to talk and it's really fun. It's this massive subject, but once you get out, you get to see it for yourself. And it's nothing better than hearing a story from one person and then seeing it with your own eyes, and you're like, damn, this is good. So like getting out of body is a journey, and I think like each and every one of you, if it's possible, you know, like just like try practicing it, because like the benefits you can have are massive. It's massive, and like I would say like just sort of it's tedious, it's not fun at first when you're practicing, but the results are enormous. So there's that. I just wanted to say, like, to let you all know that, like, you are freaking powerful beings, and what you can do are like, tons of unlimited things. So the freedom, and literally, some people are into, like, oh, I hate this life, I wanna, like, commit suicide, or just, like, I don't wanna exist anymore. If you get out of body, you can leave. No pain, no one to like, oh shit, like your will, like I don't want to experience pain and die slowly, what if it fails? Literally some people like jump from bridges, try to sort of like hang themselves on the rope, and tons of other things that happen, and they fail, and they live in that whole fucked up body for years, and then into the vegetative form, and like I don't want to be there. So people who are done with this life get out of body and not come back. You're free, you don't have to come back here, and boom, freedom, baby. Live your own life, have a family there. If you are like, for example, male or female, you can change your sex, you can change your looks, you can like make another like aspect of yourself, or simply find your soulmates, find beings that you have also like a strong connection with, have a family there, have a life you would enjoy, and you are completely free from this place. No longer need to exist here, to like sort of like suffer and all this stuff. Tons of possibilities. We're just like, man, getting out of body is amazing. so there, that's my little pitch. And the thing is, like, with out of body, like, literally, you can find tons of information online. Like, read up, I have some videos, Rich has some videos, tons of things that you can find, and simply practicing it. Like, staying consistent and trying to do things every single day to at least a little bit get there. But with a little bit of practice here and there, you can totally get results. So, you know, I would sort of, like, literally encourage every one of you to try it out. Okay, so I'm reading more comments, and also, John, thank you for the massive donation. Appreciate it, buddy. So yeah, Dimensional Whale is asking, hey Akvile, is the energy I can see from my hand a color? We were basically recently talking about how you yourself can, let's say, look at your hands, and by staying in this neutral state, you can actually see the energy. It really depends on some people. For most, the whole, let's say, energy will show up kind of like, how should I say it? If you're like in the desert, or it's kind of like this misty, foggy thing, you're just sort of like looking through your hand, and you see sort of this energy, but it's kind of like see-through. It's not like really blue or orange or anything, but it's sort of see-through at the beginning. So once you see the energy, you're like, okay, I sort of like can visualize it, but the more you focus on it, the more you practice, then you can see the auras and other things, and sort of like, for example, for example, like, oh, cool, I'm projecting my energy, and here's a little bit of red and all this stuff. So you can build it up. You can see the colors if you get there, but for usually for many, it begins with simply sort of a see-through energy, but it's sort of like a layer, kind of like you're in the desert and like just looking through this whole of misty thing. So that's probably the best way I can describe it. Angie K is saying, I really want to order the entity removal from your website. I will in time, but what can I do while I wait? Can I ask them to leave? Angie, send me an email. I'll give you a freebie. That being said, when it comes to like getting rid of entities, man, like lots of subjects and they just drop down. But like when it comes to getting rid of entities, tons of ways. One is like having a conversation with them. For example, first thing is first is to notice them. You're carrying on with your everyday life, but how do you know that you have entities? A lot of times they will appear as simple thought forms. How do you notice it is normal people don't think. Well, I don't think, and there's like tons of people who have a quiet mind, not a single thought. This is the neutral state. When you're out of body, once your physical body drops dead and you're out there, you are free from your case, and the mind doesn't exist, which means there is no, oh, it's black everywhere and a white light there. Like, you don't have tons of thinking. It's super quiet within. No thoughts, no worries, no concerns, nothing. Quietness, awareness, understanding, knowledge. This is what your normal state should be like. So when you're focusing like, do I have an entity? Well, if you're thinking, you do. And a lot of people think. So you're just walking an entity cluster, really, to say sort of like, oops. But at the same time, people should not think negatively. It's not normal state. So a lot of that like sort of self-doubt, a lot of this like hating people or feeling certain ways that seem to be limiting you, that seem to be sort of trapping you, scaring you, putting you in this like sort of like a cell of self. It's later like tons of ways to sort of tell, but for example, you're carrying on with your daily life, and a certain person says a phrase and it pisses you off, it drives you crazy, and you just sort of like get all into the rageful mode, into the angry mode, you want to attack them, all this stuff. Or for example, they say certain things and you feel like I'm bad, I'm bad, wrong, and guilty, and sort of like start to sort of like talking bad about yourself and like really feel bad about life. Or for example, being in fear. You want to do certain things in life, you want to get better, you want to talk to certain people, and all of a sudden tons of these fear thoughts like, oh, what if that person doesn't respond? What if they don't like me? What if I am not good enough? What if my confidence or something like that? And tons of what if, fear and other things will overcome, like all sort of like, just like you're sinking in tons of these thoughts and like all these emotions that seem to be limiting you in tons of ways. So when that happens, you're like, okay, so I have this feeling of not being good enough. I have this feeling of being afraid of blah blah blah, or like I'm dissatisfied, I'm not good enough, or like whatever. So these limiting feeling states that seem to like put you in this cage and all, just put a label on them. Like, okay, so if I have an entity cluster, there will be tons of them, tons of different clusters, tons. So when it comes into like feeling anger, what are you angry about? Where is the anger coming from? Where do you feel a certain emotion within your body? Is it in your head area, in your shoulders, in your chest, in your back? Where in your whole body do you feel it? Is it even maybe outside of you, just like whole like it feels like, you know, you're just sort of like sinking with this like massive cloud all over you. You just can't connect with people, you're sort of fully isolated, you feel bad, feel like completely down and overwhelmed and all this stuff. Like, so like sometimes there's just like so many things surrounding us all the time, and we're just looking for these things. But now that like we're aware, like, okay, so entity clusters will usually have certain emotion. Entity cluster might have from like a few entities to millions to billions all in one little cluster, but don't be afraid, because simply it's just think of nano-sized little entities, kind of like you just can't even see them and all this stuff, but at the same time they are pure thought forms. They can't affect you, they can't mess with you too much, they're pure thought forms, and all they can do is they're in your space, and since they're hanging out with you, they assume that they're you, and you assume that you are them, and if they have a thought, life sucks, you pick up life sucks, because you can't differentiate yourself between the entities, and whatever they say and whatever they feel, you think it's all on you. You think that you feel that way, you think that you think that, but simply you are freaking powerful, you are empathic, you are intuitive, and whatever happens with the entities, you are basically connected to these beings. So, with your intuition and everything else, you connect to these beings, and whatever they feel and think, you pick up. And simply, okay, here's the entity cluster of this experience, for example, like being angry, being anxious, being fearful about whatever. You put a label of like, okay, angry about life, angry about this, disappointed in this, feeling fear and stuff like that. So putting a label, and simply now you have a label of specific cluster, and you can use your thoughts and saying like, okay, thank you for serving me, because a lot of entities think that they're helping you, but literally you can have a conversation with them to the point where you acknowledge their existence, you acknowledge like they're here, but at the same time you ask for their leaders and like, okay, so this cluster of, for example, being, I don't know, like distracted. Cluster of being distracted, for example, like, okay, so like a lot of you might have procrastination, constantly doing something else, or being distracted and stuff like that. So like, identity cluster that is being distracted, what's your leader? Like call me your leader. So like, you put a label on this specific cluster, you ask for the boss, because it's like someone who rules them all. So when the leader comes over, you will feel like within your body, you might have a telepathic thought, like they're here, you might hear their voices, you might see them, each and every one of you might have, like, sort of experience it differently, but that being said, when the leader shows up, you're basically like, hey, I know that you're here, thank you for all your help if you think you're helping, but I'm done with you and I want you to leave. So you can thank them for whatever they're doing and let them go. You can simply just sort of give them a warning and give them a threat and they will go away, or at the same time visualize the cluster and sort of like think of it exploding, disappearing, or think of the galactic vacuum and use it to being sucked out and all the stuff. So that being said, yeah, for me, like, there's just tons of ways to connect to it, but like, again, like Angie, if you want the whole like entity course and you want to learn how to do it, write me an email, because I'll give you a giveaway so that you could just check it out and see for yourself. But there's like lots of ways on dealing with them, so that's just one of the ways, but I want to answer more questions and get back to more people, so I'll go on. And at the same time, I'm just sort of like reading some comments. And hey, again, people, like, I just want to mention that what I'm sharing and what I'm talking about is my own experience. I am confident in what I'm saying because I personally have experienced it, I have dealt with certain things, and I have my knowledge. But this is my point of view, this is my subjective opinion, this is my life. Whatever I'm saying, be sure to filter it, be sure to question me, be sure to like look for information elsewhere, and you know, like, don't think that like whatever I'm saying is the real deal and this is the only way. I want you to do your own research to find things that fit your belief system. So I might say one thing and you might like it, but I might say another thing and you're like, nah, it's not the thing, no, you're wrong, Akvile, and that is totally okay. So feel free to look for your own truth, to question me, to question everything, and find whatever fits for you. Like, I'm sharing my own experience, I'm sharing what I have gone through, I'm sharing because I had contact with other people who maybe have passed away, or I've certain like experienced some things in out of body and stuff. So it's comfortable for me to talk sort of like in the confidence because it's my own personal experience, and because I lived it, I believe it and all this stuff. So like, hey, this is my thing, this is what I know, and I can share about it. But like, that's my experience. So like, feel free to question things, look for information elsewhere, and just find as much as possible. I definitely do not know it all, not at all. Like, I'm far from it. I'm far from. I barely know anything. And so for me, like, it's always a pleasure to talk about these subjects, and at the same time, you know, you're bringing up a lot of topics and all that, and I just like love learning. So, you know, feel free to share your own thoughts and opinions of whatever I'm saying, or like teach me other things, because I'm always up for that. So just wanted to mention this, and I'll take my little time to drink my tea and sort of relax and read more comments and then answer and stuff. But yeah, I'm all over the place, I guess. Andromeda is saying, Akvile, can you do a quick scan to check what is my spiritual status, high, low, or medium? Andromeda, I think you're being suppressed. I think, like, to check on your spiritual status is more like Again, like, it's one of those things that I'm not buying. It's like being a starseed and feeling special when each and every one of us is a starseed, or going like, what's my spirit name when we have tons of names. So like your spiritual status, it's constantly changing. It's constantly changing to how you're feeling every single day. And because what I'm seeing from what you write in the chat, I know that you're suppressed. I know that you're going through a lot of stuff, and you know, like, I wrote you an email and I'm looking forward to you getting back to me so that I could do some work on you. But at the same time, hey, you're just going through a lot of stuff, and it's not fun, it's not easy, it's harsh, but I'm here for you. It's like, I'm just letting you know. And you know, like, each and every one of us have those times where the world just seems to be falling apart, where like life sucks in every possible way, and sometimes we want to be off, like, I just want to live anymore, I just want to be done and stuff like that. We're just looking for that escape because it gets so bad. And it's a common thing because powerful beings like you are freaking dangerous, and the only thing the third party, like dark side, can do is to push you to these feelings, is to push you to sort of like feel depressed, to feel bad, because they're here to like use your luge. For example, when we focus on bad stuff, when we're not feeling good, when we're depressed, when we're suffering, we have a lot of this like negative energy coming out of us, and that's suffering. And it's kind of like bloodshed, it's kind of like blood ritual where they try to attack us and all. And, you know, after that, it's like sort of like constant attacks, and we feel bad, and every single feeling is like energy, so they're sort of like sucking it out to feed off from us. That's one of their ways. So, you know, a lot of that going on, and it's a constant fight. It's not like, yay, you did your little thing here and there, you did your little like meditation and stuff, and all of a sudden you're clear. It's a little like spiritual warfare. Each and every one of you is like fighting every single day. And you will notice in life where you're breaking the limits, you're breaking like things, and breaking us and like breaking free, getting better, and really going like, life is great, finally you're feeling alive, you're feeling good, and you're doing so great, and you're happy, and next thing you know, bam, next morning you wake up feeling depressed, feeling like I don't want to live anymore, or you're just sort of anxious, nothing to do, completely bored and stuff like that. So it's like constantly like up and down, up and down, up and down, because every time you get high, every time you're doing good, they're like, this person is really breaking free from our control, we have to stop them. They know you're freaking powerful, and they don't want you to create the ripple effect where all of a sudden you're like feel good beingness, you will make others feel good. They don't want that happening, because the better you feel, the more likely you are to get in touch with others, and the more likely you are to inspire others, to make others feel good. And that will create this chain, a massive chain of people inspiring others, getting better, feeling happy, doing good. And they don't want that. They want people to be in fear, to be depressed, to be fighting each other, chaos and all this stuff. Which is why we're sort of overloaded with news and everything else. It's constantly negative stuff. But the better you become in life, the better you're doing within, the more dangerous you become because of the impact you can make. So keep in mind that it's a constant fight, and the better you're doing, the more likely you are to get attacked. And whenever that happens, it's like, try not to dwell on it. Like, you know, like, hey, I'm being attacked, I am dangerous to them, they don't like me doing this sort of thing, they are threatened, they live in fear, they're trying to attack me because I'm winning, this is temporarily, I'm gonna be this, and I'm gonna help out others, I'm gonna help myself, and I'm gonna keep on like fighting and stuff like that. Like, so yeah, like Victor is saying, the white wolf inside of you. Exactly. So we have to keep growing this like goodness within, because each and every one of you has it. Each and every one of you can be super powerful, and you know, they don't want that. They don't want you to create that good effect. Andromeda is saying, Akvile, can I do communication with the audio board? Yeah. The thing is, like, with the whole, like, audio board or something else, people have seen those, like, scary movies where, like, oh, damn, like, it's, you use audio board and you're gonna summon a demon and stuff like that. For me, I would sort of consider it just being a tool. Some people use pendulums, some people use theta meters, some people use muscle, like, testing, others use audio boards. choose whatever's best for you, but if you want to communicate with beings, you have to differentiate into, okay, who do you want to talk to specifically? Because if you just like choose one label, for example, oh, I just want to connect with a demon. What kind of demon? Because there's plenty of them. Or like, what kind of being are you connecting to? So you have to be like very specific with who you're connecting to, who you're talking to, and stuff like that. And from then, choose the tool that would help you to identify that you are getting some answers, whether it is the pendulum, theta meters, muscle testing, Ouija board, and stuff like that. I wouldn't say like just because you're sort of seeing Ouija board, you're like, oh fuck possession and shit like that. Like, no, it's more like energetic. There's like tons of beings talking about like, or like sort of like just connecting and trying to use the energy that way. But still, lots of ways. It's like, yeah, whatever's best for you. Like, I don't sort of buy the scenario of the movies where if you use Ouija boards, like all bad and you're gonna summon some stuff. But can't say it doesn't happen, you know. Be careful. Okay. So again, like reading comments, seeing what people are saying. And Gabriel, thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. Love when you say you're a godlike being. Yep. Thank you. Cosmos United is asking, Akvile, do you know about the dream body and the gut connection, about the colon cleanse? Andrew Barces talks about it, and I'm curious what's your opinion about it, and have you done it? I personally have not done the colon cleansing yet, like enemas and stuff like that. Like, I've read about it, I talked to people who have done it, and they had like there's all like sort of like living on the hell street where, like, let's say you're fasting and you're doing like coffee enemas and like cleansing of the body, but the person who was doing it for like about a week had tons of out-of-body experiences, like tons of them. So like, I believe it's connected, but like I myself have not done it, so to have a personal experience that I can share, nah. But like from the people that have done it that I have talked to, I hear like lots of positive results where they get out of body, they feel much better, their whole energy and everything else is like way better. And same thing with David Icke. He like in his books he was mentioning that he had like this like massive body ache, and he was like really doing not that good, and what he did like was sort of like that whole cleansing of like fasting and enemas and other things, and at the same time ayahuasca and stuff like that. But like basically there's a sort of connection with like, let's say, the gut and the spine, and there's a certain level to how far your gut can be filled up with crap and how it's touching the spine and the connection. And basically, you know, you're filled up with crap and you feel like shit, you know? So like literally there's this massive connection between the gut and I think like Stephen Gundry, Dr. Stephen Gundry, Dr. Robert Morse can give you tons of sort of like information on how it is connected. So look it up. Dr. Robert Morse, Dr. Stephen Gundry. Dr. Morse is basically more like a alternative like medicine, into explaining like how your lymphatic system is working and what you can like do to take care of yourself, to like eat healthier, and like all of these issues and diseases people have. It's like literally if you control your gut and how you're working with your body, you can take care of those things. So while I myself might not have the experience, I would sort of redirect you to people that do recommend those practices and all this stuff, so check it out. Dr. Robert Morse, Stephen Gundry. It's probably more like I think like in David Icke books, like everything is an illusion and love is the only truth, or something like that, or infinite love is the only truth, like something like that. But basically, like, yeah, David Icke also like talked about it, like the massive connection between the gut and the spine and the whole body, and how it is important to be clean and all this stuff. So check it out, check the info online. But like I myself can't really tell you anything that because I don't have the experience. But like, what about you people? Have you people tried doing enemas and cleansing your body and seeing any differences between getting out of body or like dreams and everything else? Share your experience if you have anything like that. Kazak is saying, Akvile, I was making ramen downstairs earlier, and I experienced a weird time jump. Like, I had just thrown out the spice packet, but I couldn't possibly have, but I did. How? How do I know? So like these time jumps, as a consciousness, we're infinite, and basically, like, for example, you can do something throughout the day, but we get this like deja vu feelings, or like, whoa, I see that, like, I feel like I did this before, or more like you're doing something and you get like maybe this images of certain things happening before, or maybe like the sort of like a perspective of certain things. So there's definitely a connection, and basically the consciousness can shift and experience things in the past, present, and future. And like, for example, you're still making ramen, but you've already seen how you took the trash out and everything else. So like your consciousness basically fast forwarded to some timeline to where you actually did that thing. So literally, each and every one of us, for example, like right now I'm drinking tea, but in some other like a timeline I can be drinking coffee or juice or something else, and it's all happening simultaneously. So depending on my frequencies and my focus, I can accidentally sort of like tune in to the other timelines where I'm doing certain things. And for example, while I'm here doing a stream and drinking tea, I can also be playing games and doing something else, or I can I can be watching a movie, or like whatever. Tons of scenarios can happen. It's literally the sort of like connecting to your point of view and shifting to different timelines is probably one of those things. So that'd be like sort of my explanation, or like sort of like comment on what happened to you, but there's much more to it than that. Clonering is saying, wait a minute, if filming yourself protects you from bad entities, why we have now surveillance state all over the world, and does the Cabal not want to be messed with us? Yeah, so like regarding filming ourselves and then surveillance, it's two different concepts. For example, if people are sort of experiencing the whole succubus and abductions and other things, the whole recording of self, for example, sort of like just like recording yourself does help, but the whole surveillance is a complete different thing, and it's not there to help us, to keep us safe, to protect us from entities or anything. It's not connected at all. It's more like a while they can. Well, the intention is different, you know. For example, you set up the camera to see if anything's going on, and your intention is to catch anyone that might try to mess with you, but the whole surveillance is basically, we're watching you and we're gonna mess with you, so we have you recorded, we have control over you, we have all the evidence of whatever the fuck. And blackmailing people or whatever is totally a thing. Like basically like think of George Orwell, how they have the, well, because I was reading the book in Lithuanian, like I don't know how it would be called in English, but literally the telescreens in people's homes to sort of watch them constantly 24/7. We sort of have it happening already. Like there's like plenty of videos how certain companies and even people who are good at hacking can connect to your camera and watch you. That's totally possible. So literally like sort of like, you know, people are taping the cameras and other things. Like there's a lot going on, but like it is not connected with surveillance and keeping us from like keeping the enemies away from us. It's more like a whole sinister method of the other party that has no intentions on helping us out at all. Okay, so just chilling here, reading comments. Lentavalis is saying, when I was little, I saw a dream where a big monster was chasing me and I was always running away. One time I stopped and it went into my mouth, and when I woke up, I had a sore throat. I wonder if the entity got in me. So, there's a lot of possible scenarios. Like one thing, what you're seeing, like the entity jumping into you and you waking up with the sore throat, it does have a connection. The entity does not, like, it doesn't mean that the entity is within you and it's always like with you and you have a sore throat, but simply like what we see sometimes and what like we dream of, like we dream one thing, we wake up and we have this, but it's like more like they project the scenario so that you would think one thing. Like for example, imagine the part where you get abducted and you get messed with real bad, you get zapped and other things, and you wake up, but what they projected to you is that you were running away in a dream, and you woke up with a dream memory of like, oh, like I had this entity jump at me, and here's the thing, you know, sort of like, oh, but the whole night you were actually sort of zapped and messed with. So like that happens, not to everyone, but it happens to some people. If you feel like the entity jump to you, do you think it ever left, or do you think it's still there, and how often do you get throat aches? Because it might be part connected to that, like the throat, like sore throat and all this stuff, like sort of like something to look into, definitely sort of question yourself now, but it is possible that like the entity is close and sort of like just trying to sort of like cause a sore throat, but it does not mean like the pain is the main deal. It's more like even like trying to stop you from being expressive and stop you from socializing and like talking and stuff like that. For example, like if you're like noticing yourself that it's hard for you to talk to people, it's hard for you to connect to others, and it's like really like you want to say things, but everything is stuck here, and you just can't push the words through and like get it all out. It happens, so pay attention, and that little thing might be a connection, it might be a past life, like sort of memory and stuff, so depends, but like the more you look into it, you can definitely find the details, and if it's an issue, you can get rid of it as well. Okay, so Andromeda is asking, Akvile, should I return to watching anime again? And if so, maybe I'm going to experience anime world again. Yeah, from what I know, if you get out of body, you are sort of stuck within the earth. So I say like it's one of those things where what we focus on, we're more likely to experience. For example, people who do watch more anime or like watch more movies or read certain things, now your focus goes into the different like world, and because your focus is there, you might have more chances to experience it. So you could try watching it. You could definitely try. And at the same time, I think like simply focusing on it, or like thinking about like what kind of anime world you want to get into, not specifically like watching it to get there, but let's say create your own scenario. Like one thing I can suggest to you people is keep a fake dream journal or keep a fake OBE journal. The thing is, your brain can't tell the difference between what has happened and what you're imagining. For brain, everything is real, which is why when we're talking with all the no's and don'ts, brain still considers like it's a deal. For example, oh, I'm no longer a smoker, but the brain is more like, I am a smoker, you know. That whole no's and don'ts don't really exist for the brain and stuff like that. So it's important to, let's say, if you're keeping a dream journal, keep the fake one. And what you can do is, for example, before going to bed, or simply whenever you have time and mood, really, and it's not time, but more of a mood, write down a perfect scenario of what you would like to happen. A fake OBE you would want to experience. And for example, if you want to get into the anime world, you're like, well, here, my physical body fell asleep, and when I opened my eyes, I was in the Full Metal Alchemist world, and I was in the Ishwal and meeting this character and like doing this thing. Or you simply focus on like Dragon Ball or someone else, and you simply like, sort of create your perfect scenario of, for example, physical body fell asleep and I opened my eyes and I was out of body. I was super excited. This was one of my first times getting out of body, and you are creating a story. Fake it till you make it. Literally create the story of anything you want to experience, whether it's the anime world, movie world, whether you're making shit up, does not matter. For example, like, hey, well, I have not had sex for a while, but I closed my eyes, and when I fell asleep, I woke up in out of body, and there it was, my own personal harem, my own world where I could like have fun with anyone I wanted and blah blah blah. You choose whatever you want to experience. Like, it doesn't matter if it's sex, if it's actually this massive library when you can learn things, or an anime world, or something else. Simply look at things you want to experience. But the thing is, write it down, the experience. For example, like, I fell asleep, I'm out of body right now, I'm super excited, this was one of my first times ever, and what's your experience like? Like, write the details as if it was like sort of scenario for a movie, and everything you can, like conversations you have, how everything looks like, how do you feel, what do you fly, do you walk, do you use a car or something else, and tons of these experiences. For example, like in my out-of-body experiences, I'm learning how to drive cars. I'm learning how to like sort of use the stick shift and like everything else, or like or like shift gear and but other things, like sort of like I'm getting all those details of the cars and like like the engine and stuff like that. Like, oh, and I come back and I know now the labels and everything else. I'm sort of like, cool, sort of like I get more experience. But like each and every one of you can literally sort of have a fake journal. But the thing is, once you start writing it, the brain will believe, oh, I got out of body. I got out of body and all this stuff. So the more often you will write down the fake OBEs, your brain will believe like, oh, or I can get out. I actually did. And here's what I experienced. And so you become more confident in that ability, and literally you get out of body. So it's one of the things you can try. And, you know, like whether you want to experience the animal world or something else, try it out. Try it out. Infinite Corridors is sharing experience about like food poisoning. I'm not gonna bring up the details because I remember this scene from One Piece. Basically, this big fight. Usopp is fighting against this god in Skypiea and all, and his way, like his magic spell to mess with the person was actually say like imagine like the paper cuts your finger. But the thing is, like, our visuals in our mind, like we focus on the issue and we see it and like we're like, ugh, like it's just like you think about the sort of like one incident that you don't like, and you literally, because you have felt it or you know how it feels, like you can imagine it, you can sort of feel the pain and sort of like recreate the scenario and sort of like, ugh, that doesn't feel good. So I don't want to bring up the details of the food poisoning because you know, some people might get it, and yeah, just sort of avoid the spoiled food, people. Matthew Nixon is saying, Akvile, tu tikrai esi graži siela, aš myliu tave ir tavo pasirodymą, tikiuosi, kad Google neprarado savo vertimo neteisingu. Yeah, the Google translation didn't make it too bad. Thank you for the compliments and the good words. Oh, Phil Storm is asking, like, what are some of your favorite places to go out of body and why? So for me, like, I have a few favorite places. There's this world. I used to be there before I came here. It's basically my sort of my rehab place, so to speak. But it's kind of like a world where it's not too big. It's not too big of a planet and all. But people sort of like, there is no talking. You don't talk out loud. People there understand you completely. They look within you. They look who you are as a being. And a simple look at the person, you see within. You know how they feel. You know what they're focusing on, their needs and all. And in that planet, it's like it's very freeing. And it's more like sort of like it's all about like loving and sort of like getting back the love you need. So for me, it's always like I love the place. You know, it's like I really had a hard time here, or like had and like sometimes still have a hard time here on Earth because. I'm used to in other experiences is basically I meet people and I don't need to talk. I don't need to use my mouth and like put it into words and like some language. Just like beings look at me and they know how I feel. They know my intentions, my needs, and we communicate that way where we look at each other. We know each other perfectly. Over here, it's more like I feel a certain way, but I don't know how to put it in words, and there are no right words to actually express that sort of feeling or thought or something, and it's sort of like very limiting in that way. So for me, like to sort of like reconnect and sort of like get this love and connection and sort of understanding, it's so refreshing, you know. So like that's like one of the things, sort of like to sort of like to get the sort of like, whoo, finally someone gets me. I feel like at home and all, so like that really feels good. Some other places, From time to time I go to this spaceship. Like when I was 14, 15, I had this encounter with UFOs and all this stuff, and after that, next night, or like same night, I saw the UFO experience, and then I went to bed sometime later, and when I fell asleep, I got out of body and I was on the spaceship, and tons of things happened after that. So basically from then on, a lot of things changed in my life, and I was in the spaceship. They were like, "Hey, we were looking for you. Finally, glad you found us and stuff." So those beings, like the captain, the spaceship, and everything else, they would sort of like trying to get me out and all this stuff, trying to meet me, and basically this whole spaceship is massive. Like if some of you have played Mass Effect and think of a Citadel, I can probably show it up. Let's see, so that you can understand it better. Yes, oh yeah. So yeah, let's see. This one. No. Let's see. There we go. So for example, like Citadel, this is it's like the massive spaceship. Like yeah, right here, right? So yeah, the idea, like it's pretty big, but then like how big, right? And then within this within the thing, you can have like skyscrapers and like tons of towns, and it's just like, oh, there's no window. Fuck. Yeah, there we go. Now we're seeing it. Yeah. So like Citadel. Massive spaceship, kind of like that, right? And Mass Effect 1 2 were the best, exactly. Yeah, and so like the whole town and stuff like that. So like I had a very similar experience to where the spaceship didn't look like that specifically. Like it wasn't like it had like all those corners, but just more like one fluent, just like one thingy. But even then, it was like massive, like lounges and parks and flying cars and everything else and tons of things. So for me, like that was like amazing experience to connect to other beings, and actually from then on, it's like sort of like having relationships, and even then, on the spaceship, having the ability to meet people who were from Earth, and sort of like, hey, like that person was from Japan, at the same time experiencing same thing, and like we just exchanged emails and talked in real life and stuff like that. So it's amazing. It's amazing to actually get out and like, hey, it's not just me. We actually talked about the whole thing. Two different people who met for the first time in OBE right here in the spaceship, and then we go back and then exchange emails and stuff like that. So like writing back and talking about what we experienced, and everything fits. So for me, that was like a massive confirmation that I'm just like not making shit up and like holy hell. So yeah, it's like one of the things. Anything else regarding OBEs? Yeah, pretty much like these are my favorite places, I guess. Like there's probably more, but whatever. The beings in UFO look like. The thing is, like, that whole thing, the whole, like, spaceship, it was, like, I don't know, like, being in New York Times Square, is that what it's called, and stuff like that, but basically, tons of humans, and at the same time, like lots of different species, which was like the best part about it, because like I'm like humans are like whatever, but then you see tons of different species that like you've never seen before. Like for example, like the whole like being who was kind of like, I don't know, like 7-8 feet tall, but it was pure slime. It was like literally pure slime of just like moving mass, and I literally like I was like, what the hell? And I shoved my hand through the being, and I could feel the mass, I could feel the gooiness, the wetness, and I'm like, oh, sorry, sir, I was just sort of exploring, you know. And he was like sort of like communicating telepathically, not like they have mouth or anything, but just like sort of like complete mass of slime. Like sort of moving across the whole scenery and stuff like that. So like that was like sort of like fun. But then there's tons like beings who were sort of like more like animal-like, or like anthropomorphics, or even like reptilians and mantis, and tons of races. And like the thing is, like back then I haven't even played the games or watched movies with like, let's say, Mass Effect and stuff like that. Like I did not had the experience of these races, so for me it was the first time experience. I'm like, whoa, like this is cool. So like it's sort of building up with tons of things I've seen. Like, so yeah. The whole spaceship was basically, how to say, like it's kind of like the city, massive city where tons of beings can come in and like hang out in the lounges and parks and everything else. Literally tons of things out there, and like even in the storage they had these like massive Anunnakis, like I don't know, like 20-30 feet tall, and other beings like there. So lots of details. Like I think like I could find the video on Rich 2150X channel, because like I think like in 2014 or 15 when I shared the experience with him, we had a lot of this like sort of interviewing and talking about it. So like there should be my experience for like about 30 minutes in detail. I might pull up the video for you people to watch it out, but yeah, there's a lot of details. It's really cool. Caleb, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a nice day, and yeah, take care of yourself. I'm looking at this whole comment of Infinite Quarters saying, Akvile, how do you deal with a friend who says that everything is non-dual, that only love and oneness and love, and basically my friend believes that everything is only reflection of himself and he doesn't believe in anything objective. I saw this post once. I'm not sure if I can pull it up right now. Like I don't think I can find it, but it was like a really good example of how everything's happening for a reason, everything is love, and you're like the other party ends up sort of beating them and doing tons of things and like back at you with like, oh, this is a learning experience and stuff like that. So like it was sort of like a funny meme or joke like thing. I think like just showing you that would be enough to sort of like let you know about it. Kozak is saying, are you also one of those awesome beings? You speak of us, these incredibly powerful beings, as though you are not one. Genuine question. I do not know if it's a silly question. It's all fine. Yeah, I know like I'm one of them, but my whole stream or the point of whatever I'm doing, I want to make sure that I empower you. Like, I know myself and my abilities and what I can do, and I don't feel like there's a need to sort of like, I am awesome, I can do this. I don't feel like there's like, I know stuff about myself and that's enough for me. But I want to make sure that like what I know, I want to give it to you. Because like, I don't feel the need to brag or stuff or talk about myself. It's more like just like, give as much empowerment to you people as possible. So like, yeah, I have the experiences like each and every one of us are godlike beings and all this stuff. But I want to make sure that I sort of like empathize it on you, because I already know stuff about myself, but you need that assurance or empowerment because of everyday life, and I don't know, like I sort of just want to mention it more often. That's it. Okay, JJ has a really good question. Isn't our greater objective to collect our fractured parts and anchor them into the body? Why is everyone so focused on being out of body? So here's the thing about this. It's a really great question. The whole thing with sort of getting parts back into the body, I used to do that as well, but it changed because the more I reflected on the whole work of soul fragment retrieval, it made me feel like it's not a good thing to do. What I'm talking about is we're here on Earth. And how many of you are enjoying your life here? How many of you are happy every single day, living your dream life? Not that many. Some of you might be happy from time to time, but usually life is hard. Life is not fun. There's lots of difficulties and we're going through some issues one after another, and it's great if you can deal with it and manage to make it, it's okay, I can handle it, yeah, I'll go through it, but most people are not having fun. So, when we end up doing the soul fragment retrieval, the aspects out there that are free, that are like having like the time of their life and just have like, you know, like sort of like their families and they're doing great and like everything's fine, and you look at them and you're like, oh, this aspect, it has confidence, come back here. And they had their own life, they had their own family, they had freedom, and you take them, that aspect, pull it back here, and now you're confident, yay. But that aspect of you that just joined you had a whole different life, was happy, and now it's stuck with your body that you're not satisfied with, in this environment that you're feeling trapped in the world where you're suffering. And there are not that many benefits, because you feel like, oh yeah, I feel better, but at the same time you are entrapping parts of yourself here, because you yourself feel trapped. You're like, how do I escape this prison planet? Like, I don't like this place. So yeah, for me, like, I think, like, getting out of body, I empathizing that, or talking more about this whole thing, because most people, when we look at Earth, or like our experience here, we see it as prison planet, as in, this place is messed with, we're being trapped, we lose some of our abilities, we can't remember our past lives, we lose our memories, and tons of different things. And with all that, we're looking at how trapped are we? And the main point is escaping this place. One of the best ways to do it is getting out of body, because it doesn't include with the pain or offing yourself or anything else. You simply get out, and while being being away for long enough, your physical body will drop dead on its own without any single pain, or some other being can take over, but doesn't matter. So getting out of body, you can get out, and now that you are free, and you get rid of your case, and you no longer have the fears, concerns, or like things that were limiting you here on like prison, or let's say world right here, you are out, and now you can go to your other parts and see like, oh well, this part of me had its own life. Hi, like, I was sort of thinking about sort of like putting myself together with all the parts I've lost. Do you want to come with me? And your part is like, no, I have my life, but thank you. And you're like, well then, I would like to get more confidence. Could you please let me download the information, please? And the harper like, yeah, sure. So like, the thing is, I see like putting and like taking the other aspects and just sort of putting them here. It's like we're not satisfied here on Earth. So putting them within us, sort of like, yeah, receive like sort of like soul fragment retrieval, is more like trapping other parts of yourself here within this. But you're not happy with yourself here anyways. So what I would do instead is, yes, we want to make sure we're not fractured, we want to make sure we're not losing too much of ourselves and like all those abilities. So instead, focus on the part that you want to connect with. For example, like the specific aspects like personalities, characteristics, what kind of abilities that the aspects have, what kind of life would it have. So for example, like the aspect of you that's super confident, that is lucky, that has perfect sense of humor, like really funny and all the stuff. You're looking for like things you want to have in your life, for example, right? When you find that, what you do is you talk to that aspect of yourself, like, hi, I'm here on Earth, and I would like for you to allow me to download that information and the skills. So you're not taking it away, the whole, like, your other aspect will have it all, but what you do is like copy paste. You take the information and the knowledge and the abilities, you copy that, download it here like Neo from Matrix, and now you learn the skills, you learn the like personalities for that, and so downloading it, and so you put it together, but like you don't have to sort of like stop other parts of yourself who live lives and sort of like stop everything and like come back here. So like collecting our fractured parts is good if you collect the abilities and information, but if they already have like their own lives, it's okay to let them be. If they're happy out there, it's okay to let them be. So like I used to be like, you're like, hey, like getting them back is a good idea, and I'm like, whoa, that's not good, because like I'm not happy here, for example, too, so they're trapped here just like I am. So like I changed my sort of beliefs after a little while, after I did the whole method, and like now I feel like it's much more beneficial simply downloading the information and skills rather than sort of like pulling them back to yourself. So there's that. Alright, so just taking some time to read comments and catch up with what you people were talking about. Tato, Lavas, good to see you, everybody. Are we meeting up next month? I'll have to write to you, but I do have presents, so, you know, let me know. I'm reading this comment of Cosmos United, like, girl, what do you believe of the whole guilt trip? Embracing all of yourself and everything as just your inner demons, and how to truly see beyond this duality stuff, like just yourself and sabotage, like karma versus being hijacked, which is which. So for me, I'm not really going with karma. I don't really buy the concept, like for example, like cause and effect is a thing, but it's more like it's our own option. It's not like it's not like a universal law. It's not like will happen naturally. It's more of your own decision and people that might be impacted. For example, you live a life and everything's great, but then you hurt some people. Or for example, you cheat on a person, or like for example, like you have a perfect relationship and they're like, oh, like I found someone new. Bye now, I'm gonna go there, and you have fun. That's great. And the person who was hurt, or there's tons of different scenarios that can happen, but for example, people impacted in the whole life, maybe you blew up a planet and everyone died and they blamed you, or you're exploring and stuff, and there's tons of people who sort of might get involved in the scenario of like you just going nuts and killing people or whatever, or simply having a just cause. For example, like, hey, this specific group is affecting my planet, they're trying to kill us all, so I'm gonna go and sort of destroy them and like save my planet. Cool, you did that. But then the people, like, or the beings that were attacked by you, they're like, hey, you're the bad guy, you destroyed our planet, we have to take care of you. So it's more like, it's not like universal law, but certain beings can have their decisions and emotions and feelings, and they might come after you if they don't like what you do. That being said, let's see, what do you believe of the whole guilt trip and karma versus being hijacked? So I feel like we make our own decisions. Like there's a whole lot of this, like whatever you're experiencing that's basically done to yourself. For example, in this life you're experiencing maybe some hardships with your relatives where, you know, like they are narcissists, they're ghosting you, they're ignoring you, they're being nasty to you and stuff like that. You might have this stuff, but whatever happens to us here, we have done it to others. We have seen others do it to others, and we have done it to ourselves. There's like various cycles of how our like life goes, and a lot of it, like, we don't like it so much that we try to shut it off and we can't confront it. But just because we're not aware of it doesn't mean that it did not happen. And just because we're not afraid of, or like we're not aware of some laws and what's going on, it does not sort of like redeem us, or like sort of like says that just because you don't know the road rules doesn't mean that like you're not supposed to get a ticket, like or fine for like breaking the rules and all this stuff. So you make your own decision, and for example, in life you like maybe kill off a whole planet, and you're like, you lived off for a long time and you killed the planet and you're like, yeah, I saved my own people. But then in time you learn like, damn, I kill people, I kind of feel bad for that, I don't know, like maybe they should have lived. And then you start thinking about it and you make a decision, well, next life I want to make sure that I don't do it anymore. I want to make sure that I don't destroy any more planets, and maybe whatever happened to them, I can sort of redeem myself by suffering like they did. And you make a decision that whatever happened to you is like, oh, okay, well, I feel bad about it, I kind of feel guilty. And you want to make sure that to make it even, you're like, okay, well, you can destroy me next life and we're even, no more wars. And they're like, oh, okay, so you destroyed them, next life you're being destroyed, and while through the whole destruction process you're like, everyone's dying, you're losing your family, and in the end you're like, ah, fuck, it feels so bad, I hate it, I hate the whole thing. And you might make a decision that like, it's not a good idea to let others destroy you, or like to like let others attack your planet, and now you become a fighter. And so like it's sort of like we make decisions and we live up with them, but at the same time we can change our mind every single time whenever we want, and it's completely okay. You make a decision that like, oh yeah, well, I sort of like abuse some people and I don't feel good about it, so I should experience the same thing. And you move on, and now you are being abused and you're like, hey, I don't like that. I don't agree with being abused anymore. You change your mind and you cancel some agreements, and all of a sudden you break the chain and it no longer affects you. So it's not like it's karma. It's more like whatever we experience, it might be like cause and effect, but to the point where you have control, where you change your mind and it's no longer a thing, and you stop agreeing to stuff, and you might even simply talk to people like, hey, well, it's not working. For example, in the past, you have been involved in these massive wars, and you end up killing tons of reptilians and greys and other beings, and at the same time, like, okay, all done, and you end up coming here, but now these beings are pissed at you because you killed them, so now they're the ones abusing you here on Earth. And you're like, well, that's not nice, I'm sort of like done with that, I don't want it anymore. So what you do is, like, for example, getting out of body, consciousness shifting, quantum jumping, tons of different ways, but simply, okay, the beings that you have abused, you yourself right now talk to them like, hey, well, sorry, I abused you before, but I don't want to go through it anymore, and I changed my mind, so look what we're gonna do. I'm gonna create sort of like you plenty of planets, and you can live there, and so please stop abusing me, I no longer want to do this anymore. And you do something for them to satisfy that party, and they're like, oh, okay, we're gonna back off and do our own thing, and they leave you alone. So like a lot of issues that we're going through, it might seem like it's a lot, but just because you've made a decision at some point in the past doesn't mean that you still have to suffer and go through it and learn the lesson or something big. It's totally okay. Like, usually so like, hey, I don't like it. I changed my mind. I no longer agree to that stuff. And that is the power. Like, most people think that because you sort of made a decision in the past, you have to go with it. It's okay to change your opinion. Maybe if you were gonna go like sort of, hey, let's go on the, I don't know, those rides and stuff, like on a roller coaster. And you're going there, and you're like, fuck, it's making me barfy, stop. And sort of you thought it's a good decision until you started doing it, and then you don't like it. It's okay to stop everything and, hey, I don't like it anymore, I don't want to do this. So whatever we have done in the past life, any decision, any action, anything, if we feel like the results here are affecting us at any point in time, we can change our mind and look at what happened. What did we decide or say that we're gonna do or not do, and by canceling your, like to say, things you've said, like changing your decisions, stuff like that, you cancel the whole thing, and now the thing will no longer affect you here on Earth. So that would be my explanation on it. Like, you have the freedom to change your opinion at any point in time, and that is the strength to quit and to change your opinion. Don't think like you're bad, you're wrong, or you're not living to someone else's expectations, or it's sort of like, oh, I should do it until the end, I should finish the process. No, if you don't like it, don't do it. Doesn't matter if it's your past lives or it's the work you don't like, or something like you say, like you told your friend, like hey, well, we're gonna do this thing together, and all of a sudden you like the day you're supposed to go on some event, you're like, I'm really not feeling it, I really don't want to do it. So like, hey, sorry buddy, I don't want to do it, I'm not going. It's okay to change the decision, it's okay to change your mind, it's okay to quit at any point in time, anywhere, every time. Like, empower yourself, and it's a strength. It is a strength to live life and be happy and do what you want to do. If you're not feeling like it today, don't do it. If you say like, hey, I'm gonna do this thing today, I promise I'm gonna work, and just something happens, and like life happens, and you have to take care of these things. Like, hey, fix the present time problem. If you don't feel like doing it, stop. It's all good. So there, that's my little pitch. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down to see what Data said. Let's see. Where are you, buddy? Yeah, Far Country will not close its roads. Okay. I have to check up on news on what's going on, because like I was sort of like disconnected from it all. But like, if it's possible, I definitely want to meet with you. You were one of my aspects, and we were some desert kinda, and there was a building. We both go And then, after some time, you go outside. How I want to go out too, but always to get out disappear. And simply asking for forgiveness. That not the other thing. Wait, your aspect tells me to think of teleportation so I could teleport and go outside, but I try. I shift another horror dream where emotions chases me. Whoa, that's an interesting experience. Yeah, a lot of people probably like go through this well, where you're like maybe with some other being, or you're doing something together, and then you end up being in a place, whether it's an apartment, a house, or something, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna go out, and boom, no more ways to get out. Like everything closes, and like, oh, I'm stuck, and tons of ways to shift. So like when that happens, I would say it is really important to sort of like stop everything. And if you're conscious within a dream or the environment that this is going on, I would say like sort of like, okay, I'm trapped, now what? And we sort of like, our mind goes into, I'm trapped, I'm stuck, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do? And a little panicking all over the place. But if you can, it's like, how? I can't get out. So what happens is like, you stop everything, try not to think, but more like stop, breathe, like deeply, and sort of like, just sort of relax. And the thing is, by changing your feeling state, you're in this blocked environment, and you're like, calm down. So your focus goes from the environment into within yourself, and at the same time you're maybe visualizing something loving, or simply think of the best thing that has happened in your life, and you're hyping yourself with, damn, it doesn't matter what it was. Maybe it was petting your cat, or getting a dog, or driving a car, or like some happy moment in your life where you got happy. And it was like really like sort of like, damn, this is so good. You were in the concert, or you were doing something else, and you were so all excited. Think of that moment, because this is where you are feeling good. When you focus on that, your vibration changes, you're all going higher and like doing better. And when that happens in the trapped environment, you're changing your vibration, and your vibration controls the environment. So if you find yourself in a naked dream, if you find yourself in the environment where you're stuck, where you can't do anything, or it's all creepy beings all over the place, you focus on yourself and shift the vibration. Sort of like think of like getting a hug and how good it feels, or maybe even having sex, or maybe like petting a dog or something. Doesn't matter. Something that will make you feel happy, relaxed, and good. And by focusing on these things, you shift your vibration, and all of a sudden the world around you changes. And I've had this like OBE, which had like a really good explanation about how it all works. I was with a team, and we had this kind of like, I don't know, like little computers on our arm right here, like kind of like a carry-on computers that would like had holographic screens and stuff like that. And we were going from one place to another, like different planets, different realms. And as a team, we go here on a planet, and for example, the planet is just like civilization and everything else going on. We have like lots of people there, they're working and stuff like that. And the beings are like, okay, so now stop everything and try to think of something bad, negative, hate, just sort of like focus on the bad stuff. And you see the world and everything's fine, and like there's like a lot of trees and people are doing good. But then what you do is like I hate this place sucks, and you sort of like start focusing on the negative stuff. The more you worry, the more you're concerned, the more you're angry and like thinking negative, the place around you, the whole world starts deforming. And all of a sudden, forests are cut out. They sort of like there's like a lot of like forest fires, and like everything's burning down, and no more villages, and people are killing off each other because you dropped your vibration to the level where that negativity or how you feel creates that world. But then they're like, okay, stop, breathe, relax, and now think of like loving. Think of the best thing that can happen to you. And I was basically like, okay. I would focus on like just focus on myself and think of something good, and my good feeling shifted the whole world into there's even brighter, there's more fruits, there's more nature, like people and animals have a great contact. And the way it was in the beginning, the neutral state, it was even better than that. And so with that, like I sort of got to notice how my feeling state can impact the whole world. And it doesn't matter, like for example, in any kind of dream you go to, any kind of astral world, out of body and stuff, wherever you find yourself, if you are aware enough that like, hey, I'm dreaming, if you can stop, breathe, and focus on better like feeling states, you will shift the environment, and then you are more of a creator. That being said, within that experience, within that OBE, we had the meters showing like, for example, like how your emotions, for example, you think of the bad stuff, and the more you focus on it, it affects other people as well. Like everyone who lives in that world would show like how their feeling states would like go from sort of like happy and satisfied about life into sort of like being disappointed, depressed, scared, and all this stuff. And all the people environment and the nature was sort of, everything was declining within the stats. And if I would change my vibration to better, everyone was like sort of doing happier, more connected, more love, more growth, and the whole world would be different. So having that OBE, I had a sort of like first-hand experience where like I understood like, okay, so if I can stop everything, and no matter how crappy the environment is, if I focus on the good stuff, my vibration, my focus will affect everything else. So yeah, that would be this little tip that you can take. Try it out if it works and all. But yeah. So I'm gonna shut up for a little bit, read more comments, see what I can find and all stuff, and maybe talk some more. So let's go. Whew. Am I talking too much, people? Sort of scrolling down, just like trying to find the place where I was last at. Thanks, John. Because we're just like going through the comments and looking for questions. Hi Sankar, how are you doing? Sort of just like reading about people like share their experience about going out and some quotes and Abraham Hicks and other things. Okay, Eddie is saying, I've gotten out recently and I got jammed up and couldn't move, then I slowly ended up back in my body. What should I do next time to be able to move freely? Well, like I mentioned before, the example of like sort of like trying to switch your vibration would be the thing. Also, like, let's say you're in the scenario where you don't like the environment, you're not feeling too good, or you're feeling like, hey, something's going on, I feel like sort of being squeezed or trapped and stuff like that. Simply like I would say focusing on a place you want to be at, the world or so. Think of the scenery, like with our consciousness, you have to treat the consciousness as a dog. You used to say like think of like you're the master, right? And you have to give the dog a command to like sit, run, roll, and stuff like that, right? And I don't have a dog, so I'm not a good person to say like how to train and all that stuff. But the consciousness will follow every single command. So for example, if you're out of body and you're sort of stuck or some nasty environment and you don't like it, you have to give yourself like, okay, look into this world where, like, let's say just mountains and cabin in the woods and like normal like people in the river and like nice like warm weather, and literally you're giving yourself a command to see it, picture it, and once you focus on that, you literally can shift your consciousness and teleport there. So literally you have to create the scenery or like think of a place focus on something, and once you have it within your mind or attention, then you can shift and like literally go there. So like whatever you're going through in the dream state or OBE, and if it's not comfortable and stuff, simply by focusing on another place, you can like shift your consciousness and get out. So that's like one of the ways to sort of like stay safe and like be happy now. Oh, that's a good question. Sankar is asking, how do we release stuck emotions due to traumas? First thing that comes to me is like literally past life regression, literally like going into your past lives to the origins where it all happened and taking care of the original issue, because everything you have here on Earth is pretty much everything that have built up throughout your years of existence and all the timelines, and or like lifetime, as you say, and everything that sort of built up is now bleeding through and affecting you, and you might not remember stuff, but it does not mean that that didn't happen. So basically, Sankar, what are some of the emotions that you have that are there because of the traumas? Is it like the fear of like social anxiety or something else? What kind of like emotions are you feeling? Because I can sort of focus on it and talk about it more specifically to you, but if I was looking at myself, let's see, if I was doing this to myself, the whole thing, I'm trying to sort of think of the sessions I did on myself regarding this, and my main one probably would be regarding relationships, but is there more? I'm trying to sort of like focus within and see if I have any emotions stuck due to traumas, and there's definitely some, like, I might not be focused on it, so like it's just not there in my space, but like the moment I lock onto it, it's gonna be a thing. Let's see. Used to feel abandoned, used to feel all alone. Digestive disorders, okay, digestive disorders. And mainly, you can't digest and you can gain weight, or are you super like slim and anorexic, or more like gaining weight and it's just like all filled up? Which way? This is a big deal, because it can work on various ways. The emotions you have and what your body is going through, like it really depends on what you're experiencing. I'm trying to sort of like still look at myself and like see what I'm going through, but like one of the things, for example, people, I don't know, like maybe like literally just like I can't think right now of an example to give. I just like want to find the right item and then I can talk about it. All filled up, okay. So with that, like let's say having a digestive disorder and being all filled up, that is the issue you're going through because of the traumas you had like throughout your life. You're going like to where else are, like for example, when was the very first time you started like feeling like you're all filled up, like you have digestion disorder, like it's hard to digest and everything else, and with that you're basically trying to track where it all began, but then it's so simple to simply, like I don't know, like for me focusing like when was the earliest time where like you felt all filled up and you had like sort of like digestive disorders and stuff like that. So the first thing is like you find an issue, like what is it that you're going through? Is it emotional stuff? Is it the physical stuff? Do you have some kind of pains, or do you feel kind of social anxieties and afraid and all this stuff? You're going through what you're feeling. For example, with you being all filled up, there's a part, for example, think simple thing like pops up in my world, and I might have done shit myself. People who might be more obese or maybe are all filled up and just have more weight, they might have lived as a person who, let's say, either was a slave or suffering starvation, and you're basically living where you have no food, and before death you make a decision like in next life, if I have a chance, I'm gonna eat all the food I can. I love food, I want to eat, I'm so freaking hungry that you die with those thoughts. The decision was so strong that it carries over and it bleeds through in this life, where you wake up and you feel hungry all the time. You just sort of like, you want to eat all the food and you want to taste things, and this is just part of it. But for example, you were hungry, you wanted to eat, and then someone killed you by sort of like, you're a bad slave and they stab you with the stuff, and they basically they stab your stomach and you're bleeding through, and it's a slow process of death, but you die. So you're stuck with really wanting to eat, but you have digestive issues because your stomach was attacked. Looking through this issue, you go through, okay, decisions made, sort of like strong beliefs and emotions, what did I feel through the whole process, and what has happened to my physical body, the pain and stuff like that. So, you know, like you go through this whole thing, and okay, this is just one incident, but you go earlier, what happened before that? And did the incident start like earlier and stuff like that, or have you had a life that had similar issue before, and you're going through where, for example, you just had a lot of like food and you ate and like, hey, I'm all filled up, woo, and you're sort of like just chilling, and someone shot you in the stomach, like killed you, like what the hell, and you're sort of feeling like, I just ate and you're all filled up, but you were shot, and that thing carries over, bleeds through, where you were all filled up, you were so freaking like, woo, I ate a lot, my tummy is full, you're all happy, and then you get shot, and your stomach is the one that gets like most of the damage, and bleeds through to the point where in this life you want to eat, and then you feel all filled up, but at the same time your stomach is all destroyed. So literally like sort of like tracking like, how do you feel, what is it that you're going through, what kind of like emotions and the whole body issues, and literally you can sort of like go back and back and back and back to the very beginning, where you find the first time that this ever happened, the origin, the very beginning of the incident where you had been all filled up and you had digestive disorders. And like after that, once you spot the truth of your issue, like how it all happened, you just go through the whole process, like sort of like seeing from everything, like from the beginning until the end. Then you can sort of like release the emotional attachments, the pain, hypnotic commands. Because for example, the moment for example, the moment you get stabbed and your stomach is like all bleeding and you have guts all over the place, and let's spare the details, but your focus, like you're sort of like unconscious or are in pain, and anything that happens in the background tends to affect you. So what happens is that it builds up to the point where you're focused on the pain and ow, my stomach, but in the background is like people are saying like, I can't like look at this, I'm gonna throw up and stuff, and all of a sudden their words, whatever people say in the background while you're all in pain, becomes a hypnotic command. In this lifetime, every time your stomach hurts, you feel like you're gonna throw up because someone said, like, you know, you feel that sort of. So like it really builds up. So like that's like one of the things, like how to release stuck emotions due to traumas. I would simply say like messing is like past life regression, where you literally track down like what kind of issue you're going through, and then you're going to the very beginning. You're going to the very beginning where it all started, and simply looking at one thing, like how did you feel, your decisions, your promises, things you have said, things you felt, and what happened to your body. Was it more of an emotional stuff, or was it more physical? For example, people who let's say love triangle, or like let's say people who love each other, and all of a sudden, you know, hey, a person decides like the person you love, and they're like, look, I really want to go explore the multiverse. I'm gonna go and like just look for more lives, just learn more, and you feel like that person like left you, and now in this lifetime, for example, you live and you do your own stuff, and whether it is your parent or someone in your environment says like, hey, you know, I'm just gonna go to work, and you feel this kind of like you're about to cry because you have the fear of losing the person, because the thing that happened in the past, their words, whenever people say like, hey, I'm gonna go now, or like some specific phrase pops up that might have been said in the past life that hurt you, now every time you hear this, it just breaks your heart. Every time, for example, whatever triggers you the most, pay attention to that, because it's important. It's important because those things are not just there out of the blue. You're not just like, oh, like I'm just like this. That's just how I am. No. You're not supposed to feel that way. Like all the issues, your fears, all those feelings, the pain and all the stuff, not normal. And you literally can go to your past lives and track down where it all happened. Why do you react to certain phrases more than others? Do you react to like, someone might call you a chicken and you're like, I don't care, but someone might call you a bitch and you're fucking don't call me that stuff, and you just explode? Or is it like some people teasing you about it, and it just goes sideways really fast because of certain phrase and all this stuff. So literally, like, pay attention, because feelings is like emotions, physical body, literally past life. You can track it down, find the very beginning, and being aware of the process of like what have you decided, things you have said, things you have felt, and you're just going through the thing to understand, but simply sort of like shining the awareness, becoming the aware like of this, like, oh, that's why it happened, that's why I was so reactive back then, and you release the pain, you sort of have more understanding, and you let go of it. And literally, even simply looking through the incident of what happened, you can recreate the scenario where the perfect scenario of how that would have ended, instead of like people shoving like their stuff like through your stomach and you're feeling starvation. It's more like, well, instead I was laying on the ground and a person picked me up and hugged me and gave me tons of food, and ever since then I found a nice family, and I was always like fed, and I was always happy and living long life, happy ever after. Boom, that's your scenario, and you sort of like change the whole thing. But you wake up now, like new day, and no more feelings, no more phase, like sort of like fears and like all those phrases no longer affecting all the stuff. So like, there's a whole lot to talk about the subject, but I'm just sort of saying, like, it's just like one little thing, it can lead to so much, literally. Sort of like pay attention to those little things, certain phrases that might trigger you, actions that might trigger you, your physical body pain and all this stuff, because it doesn't come out of the blue. For example, for me, the throat was a thing. The throat was like talking to people. I always had a thing where my throat locks up and it hurts, and all of a sudden to get things passed through my throat was super hard. And I was like, okay, well, how did that happen? Like, why do I have this thing? And I was like looking through my past lives to the points where I was gonna share some information, or sort of like there's an important person, I'm gonna tell them the truth about what's going on, and I was killed in the process. Like, I'm gonna share the truth, and in the moment I'm about to and I died. Like, so there's that moment, like, I'm about to share, I die, there's a lot of pain, and I die with that, like, I need to tell the truth, but there's a lot of pain. So in this lifetime, every time I need to say the truth, it's gonna hurt and lock up, and I'm like, I don't know, it feels so hard talking and stuff like that. So literally tracking down past lives, there's so much to it. Anyway, kind of scroll up, see what you people have said before, and try to answer more questions before we wrap it up. But yeah, are you getting anything out of this, people? So Mary66 is asking, hi Akvile, what is the best way to die, and do we choose how we die? And ex-Zappo CEO Tony Hishay, or however you say his last name, did a lot of good and just died from a house fire at 46. Was that part of his soul contract? Oh, yeah, about that. We have a lot of soul contracts that are limiting us, but it's more like, it's there to make your life more limiting, to make you suffer more, but it's not there to kill you off. What the thing about it is, like, the entities and all these agreements and stuff, they're here to limit us to the point where we feel stuck, and we're constantly under pressure to the point where 24/7 they can harvest loose from us, they can harvest our energy and mess with us. But the whole thing with, like, you're gonna die and this is the thing, no. The the longer they can mess with you, the longer they can strangle you and sort of torture you, the better it is for them. So to kill you off, it's more like, it's not that kind of a thing. It's like, if they're here to trap people within the prison planet, they don't want to kill you off. They want to make sure you suffer so long that you create belief systems to the point where you start limiting yourself. So to make like a soul contract that you're gonna die because of this is not a thing. No, but there will be other factors that will like sort of like push people to that place, or people there's a lot of that stuff. For example, like I was watching this whole thing like Fast and Furious with Rich, and we were discussing how so like Paul Walker was a driver in the Fast and Furious, and he was sort of like you know, like law of attraction, for example. He gets really into this role, how he is a lot of times in this life and death situations when he knows like he's gonna die, and he calls his wife in the movie to tell like, hey babe, I'm not sure if I'm gonna live on, so be sure to like take care of our kids and stuff like that. So like a lot of this is happening, and you play the role so good that you buy the scenario so much that like, you know, you're gonna die, and literally what you focus on, it happens. So like really depends what Tony was going through in his life and all this stuff, but like a lot of people are like, whatever you focus on and you try to live it, and you can like literally manifest it, and not the best way. So there's that, like it's not more of a soul contract as much as just like other things happening in life. And the best way to die, I'm choosing getting out of body. I don't know, like all these like things where people are shooting themselves in the head and all this stuff. Man, I've Reddit has some really dark stuff. I remember when I was younger, there's this like subreddit called 50/50, and you can see like it's like flipping a coin, and you're either gonna see a good thing or you're gonna see a really bad thing. And you can see like, oh well, 50/50, try your luck. You're gonna see a beautiful cat or a body that's gonna like or a car crash, and you're like, well, oh, it's a cat. But then next thing you know, it's some nasty ass stuff. And I've seen like I was like watching that stuff. There was one scene where a person jumped from a bridge, like a really high bridge, and hit himself in the asphalt, and tons of stuff happened, to spare the details. Basically kind of living headless, but being alive in the vegetative form. And people tons of times try to off themselves with hanging themselves, with shooting themselves, and tons of other things, and they survive. And to live in that state where you're all fucked up, man, I sort of like, the thing about me is like, I talk about stuff and I see it, so I'm describing you the scenario, and I replay what I saw, and it's for me like just tons of that details, like nasty. I don't want to talk about it because like too gory and stuff like that. But I like out of body the best, because you can simply get out and you don't have to come back, and you have the freedom to go wherever, do whatever you want, and not be a thing. But yeah, I'm not really buying the whole thing like your time is set, you're gonna depart at this time. It's not beneficial. Whew, yeah, anyway, okay, so like Sage is saying, I believe there are guided meditations on YouTube that do past life regression. Do you think doing one would be safe, or it has to be done with a certain way by a knowledgeable individual, and hard to explain? Okay, so like with the past life regression, the thing about it is like, it's easy to trigger ourselves. A lot of people think like, oh, I just want to know who I was in the past, like who was I? So we want to know all those details, and sort of like, yay, remembering it and all stuff, that will be cool. But it doesn't end there. A lot of these things, can you hear me okay, because I'm a bit far from the mic and stuff, but anyway, we're trying to recall our past lives, and we're simply curious, we're exploring and all this stuff. But you will look at things like, hey look, I'm sort of like seeing things and sort of connecting to things, yay, and at the same time you end up accidentally looking into like, oh shit, someone died, and it might trigger you. You literally might see something like an incident, recall things to the point where it's hard to confront. And we see nasty stuff that we don't like, and we're like, oh, whoa, back off. But we tend to back off and not deal with it, or we're simply there to find information, but not do anything about it. We come back, and you trigger yourself. The thing you saw, it becomes more present. and all of a sudden it might overfill you with emotions and feeling states, and it becomes like you become more aware of a certain issue or of certain things that happen, that now you're starting to pay attention, and it's more of a trigger thing. So you can trigger yourself, feel more exhausted and tired, and your consciousness went there, and when you come back, part of you is still looking at the stuff and re-experiencing it, but you don't get the full part back, you don't deal with it. So simply, I saw my past life when I died. By now, that doesn't help. You just try to find information. So for me, the way I learned, it is important to go through the process. And for example, no matter how hard the incident is, like man, I remember the first times I were doing passive regression, it was nasty. Like people that were giving me sessions, they were suffering because I'm this kind of like person, when I'm talking about stuff, whenever I read, I see things clearly. For example, we talk about like mountains, man, I see them. I see like the hills and the grass and the trees and the like branches and like everything, like every single detail for me is so crystal clear that I'm fully there. When we're talking about past life, or I'm talking about people committing suicides and doing certain ways to trying to kill themselves off, I run every single scenario with all the details. For me, it's not just like no, I will see the bullet going in, how it hits you, what happens within the body and out, like so, like every single perspective I can get, it's there. So for me, thinking, I have to turn it off. I don't like thinking because it's gonna play off tons of scenarios. But if I read your comments and like I read, like for example, like one guy was saying like I was downstairs like making ramen, I'm seeing his freaking house and I'm seeing ramen right there, and I'm like, ooh, nice. And also like for me, all those details are too much. When I was starting to do passive regression, when I was like one of my first times, I was recalling incidents regarding relationships, and I spent 3 hours crying, and it was terrible. It was terrible. Like the person was like, damn, like how do I get the fuck out of this, because this girl is, how do you handle this? And my case was exploding because for me, it wasn't just like, oh, I remember what happened in my past life. No. It was like, I was there. I was reliving every single moment. Every single feeling I have felt back there, I felt it right within my body. The throat being cut or simple parts, I felt the pain, and it was so overwhelming that, like, let's say, being stabbed or shot or something like more than that, I felt it within so much that I felt like I'm dying. And the part of, like, let's say, breaking my limbs or like breaking my hands and all this stuff, I felt every single thing. And for me, like the physical pain became less of a thing, and the emotional stuff became more of a thing. Like let's say I can handle the physical pain, but the emotional stuff, man, sometimes it's hard to handle, right? So like when I was going through a lot of incidents, like one aspect, one past life, 3 hours to clear it off, to finally get off the charge, the things that were hurting me, the things that I was sort of emotional about, to get the charge off was thing. So I'm a bit on steroids, which is, like, not everyone will react this way. Don't become discouraged or feel like, oh, it's a bad idea, I should not do this. No, I'm just, like, a weird case, a weird scenario where, like, I myself am a bit on steroids or on perception, feeling, sensing, and all these things. Like, for me, like, it is cranked up, so I'm a weird being. But, I think, like, when you're doing, like, passive recall, you're coming in with a curiosity, but without the knowledge that, like, every single incident you're going through, eventually you will find something that will trigger you. And it's not just to sort of satisfy your curiosity, like, oh, that's what happened, that's nice, and you're done. Looking into the incident, you're there, and your consciousness will see the whole thing, but you're focusing on just one segment. And in the whole thing, you might have seen the life where you were raped or something else happened, and you're just focusing on that moment where, like, hey, a birthday party with some people, or like, I just met this person I know, but you come out with feeling so kind of like, sort of like you've been dirty, like you're feeling all dirty and like crappy and like what the hell, like what's going on? So like finding those things, you got to, like, having someone to guide you through it helps, because the way we work, the way we are, it's like when we're confronting something negative, it becomes too much to handle sometimes, and we want to back off, like this is too much, I don't want to go there. And the thing about us is like we're rabbiting, we're running away. We see the issue, and all of a sudden, like, well, I got to, like, let's take a break for a few minutes. I'm gonna go get some tea, I'm gonna go do this, and all of a sudden, you know, we end up like, okay, well, I want to recall my past life, but I just have to answer this phone call, or I just have to park my car, or like do this, and we're gonna do absolutely everything we can to run away from the session and not look at it and do something else. But we're trying to sort of not confront this thing. So it does happen. Like we're trying to run away from like not confronting things, and at the same time having someone who's gonna be there accountable and hold us through the whole process and like, hey, you're not going anywhere. We're gonna stay until the very end, from the beginning until the end. You're gonna go through the process, every single command. You're gonna look at the parts you don't want to look at. You're gonna confront it, and you're gonna release the emotional pain, get rid of all the triggers, and make sure you come back here getting rid of your problems. So it's really good to have someone to guide you, because like it's easy to trigger yourself, and it's not like ever like if you go with your curiosity and you have no one to guide you and you accidentally fuck yourself up, it doesn't mean it's gonna be like everlasting and it's gonna be there forever. No. Like, so like let's say for a few days or a week or so, that thing will come over and you might feel exhausted, or certain things will trigger you a bit more. But you can shake it off, and that's okay. But just having someone to guide you through the whole process will be much more helpful, because you will not be able to escape. It's not like, oh, well, I have to go do this, I want to pee and stuff like that. You will do everything like you can to fight back, because your consciousness, or like the way it is, like you don't want to look at it. Or like, let's say, even like there are times where entities know, or like for example, like the beings that are messing with you, they know that if you look at the truth, you will recall who you are, and they will lose control over you. So they will do whatever they can to fight back and make you feel like you have to go do something, or you change your mind, or you want to address something else. And there's tons of these things. So you feel like, you know, you don't want to do something, or all of a sudden you change your mind, and all of a sudden like well, I'm just gonna like not feeling it. Like let's do another subject. Let's talk about something else. And you know, like the case fights back. We fight back. But if you have someone there for you who's gonna hold you accountable, who's gonna help you go through the whole process, it lasts from an hour to 2 to 3, depending on what you're addressing. Sometimes it's even like less and fast the process, but running from the beginning until the end, it's not like running through the incident once and that's done. You literally have to repeat the whole thing a few times to clear off all the charge. For example, the moment you died or specific things happen, the decisions made, it's a lot there. So each time you go through the beginning, like from the whole incident from the beginning until the end, you will start seeing more details, the things that happen in the background, the things you have noticed. And how to say it, for example, you're looking at the incident where I was like trying to give information and my throat was cut. And I'm talking about this whole thing, I'm like sort of like just crying or something else, and I get the emotional release. Okay, let's go back until the very beginning, what happens? And all of a sudden I notice like, hey, I was being followed, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And I will find tons of different things I have not noticed on the first go. And every single time you will find more information, you will find like more details in the whole thing, you will have more recalls. And once you're done, you come back from the from the beginning until the end, you see the whole process of everything that has happened in that incident, you talk about it, you have more awareness. And do you feel like the whole incident that you're focusing on is releasing, like clearing up, you have more clarity, you know what's going on, and at the same time you feel like, well, yeah, I feel like it's getting easier to express everything and all this stuff, and I don't feel like throat-ache anymore? Or is it more like, well, yeah, you feel like you're getting stuff, but it's still not as clear, and it's becoming more of a thing where it's affecting you, you're about to cry more and stuff like that. So you go again and again and again. And for example, sometimes it doesn't release. You're like, well, yeah, it's the same old thing. Well, let's start earlier. What happened a few hours before that? And you're looking for the earlier beginning, and maybe one goal doesn't release. So you have to look, okay, you found one thing, but now we're not done with one little thing. We're going to the very beginning, to the very origins. So like we saw this scenario, next, and we might run to 20, 50, hundreds of these lifetimes. But like for me, I showed people the example, like think of a movie reel with every single frame, and one frame is one like lifetime. But the way consciousness works, for example, headache, there will be tons of the scenarios where we can find headache from being banged on the head, being shot, hitting your head yourself, some medicine or something else not working, and tons of things will cause headache. But you have to describe, well, every time this happens I get a headache, and we get like very specific, very, very thin timeline. And with that one thing, we're looking for every single scenario that will have same common things, and we're running to the very beginning, the very first time it has ever happened in our existence. And then, okay, you realize what happened, you release the thing, and that would be full clear. So there's a lot of details to it. There's a lot of details to like sort of recalling past life. And I think like it's great if you have someone to guide you, because then you can do the whole process fully. And even though it's not that fun and sort of hard to confront sometimes, once you get done with it, your life changes massively, because you can get rid of your physical body aches. Your personality changes to the moment where the things you had a hard time dealing with all of a sudden disappears. For example, for me, the period pains no longer there. The ability to talk and sort of say truth and like move through the hard stuff is like ready to be shared and stuff like that. So like I'm noticing like how I myself see like tons of wins, and even then I have not done that many on myself, but like the ones I've did, I've seen massive changes. So like I believe that each and every one of us, if we had this whole thing, like let's say if we learn to do it for ourselves, or like you can do it for yourself, you can learn with others, but having a person with you to guide you and sort of hold you accountable to not let you run away from the session and do everything until the very beginning, until the end, that would be great. But anyway, I should switch it up and maybe change the subject, but anyway, it's big. It's totally big. Because I'm just sort of like reading through their comments, and at the same time, it's been 3 hours, and I should probably start wrapping it up. I'm not sure if I should answer more questions, sort of wrap it up with this note and like a long explanation on like regarding past lives and stuff. But yeah, how are you doing, people? And here's the thing, yeah, I think it's time for me to ask for help or your experience. So what's going on is like my cat is getting close to dying, and I'm taking care of him. Like we've been to the vet and like taking care of him, and like let's say like he has 1 week but he lived off a year, but I'm seeing that right now like he's going through he's not doing that good, you know, like it's very visible that like, you know, it's coming. And those of you who have had animals and have lost it, how have you dealt with it? Because for me, when I was a kid, like I lost a cat, but like I wasn't that much attached to sort of like really go for it, like really like, oh, like cry about it and all this stuff. But now I know like he's my family member. I really love him, and I know like deep within, the way I am right now, I'm doing everything I can to disattach to the point where like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play video games, I'm gonna do this, and I'm just trying to overload myself with work and everything else, not think about it. But the moment like I go to see my cat and I'm spending time with him, I'm like, damn, how am I gonna handle this? So like I wonder, like those of you who had animals and have lost them, well, how have you dealt with it? Because like for me, I know like I'm all tough and all like just talk about like how you're the best being and like it's all good, but I know that like I'm gonna be messed up. I'm gonna be messed up when he dies, and I will try to probably block it off and like sort of like just like sort of like close up and sort of like ignore it all, or like really try to shut it all off. But deep within, I know like it's kind of like that, like closing off to the point where like don't show any emotions, but the time will hit where like I'm a time bomb and explode with like how bad it feels. And like right now, like I find myself where I'm in bed and I'm thinking like damn, it's harsh. I know like for example like I'll be able to get out of body, I'll be able to see him and talk to him and meet him as a being out there, but damn, that is the hardest reason to keep it. It's like exactly yeah like yeah. I'm sort of like trying really not to focus on that like thing emotionally, because it's gonna be a thing for me. Like I was listening to Gary Vee the other day, and he was talking about a similar subject, how like he's looking to the moment where his parents are gonna die, because it's gonna traumatize him, and not because he's a masochist or anything else, but more like as a being, he has grown so much that he knows his strengths and his downs and stuff like that, but he has no idea how he's gonna react when some people that he loves the most in his life will pass away. And like we talk about like, you know, like, oh, like don't attach to people here and it's all like not a thing, but it's easy to say. Like for me, like the animals, it's just like a different connection. Like there's so much personality to that being. It's not just the pet, it's like literally it's a live being, so much character, so much life to that thing. So yeah. Yeah, sort of like I thought I'll bring it up because like I want to like just make his time, like the last days, the best. So getting him all possible goodies and making sure like I spend plenty of time with him and just giving him the best thing possible. But like, good luck with taking care of it emotionally and all this stuff. John West is saying, I became more detached when I became, like, moved away from my old cat I had. And no best solutions, but, like, it will be hard for me. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, do his crazy, like, all those favorite things for him, yeah. I'm gonna definitely, like, get him this massive can of tuna, because he loves it. Like, he just goes crazy for fish and all this stuff. We'll see, like, there might be time, like, the thing is, like, I don't know how much he has left. Like, literally, docs and vets saying, like, he's supposed to go, but my cat is, like, still going. Like, I'm all hyped up. It's just, like, lately, he's freaking weak. Like, to the point where he was, like, you know, like, he's just, like, a 13-year-old cat, castrated and everything else, but to the point where, like, I saw him running around and jumping all over the place, to the point where he's just trying to scratch himself, and he's falling from his feet, and, like, it's really hard for him to stand and all this stuff. And he's no longer going to his lair place and just like doing everything all over the house, and it's totally fine. Like, he was like, hey, we're gonna take care of those little things. It's not much of a big deal, but for a being like less eating, less drinking, like it's like it's if he doesn't eat and doesn't drink, it's not good and stuff like that. So like, give him IV bags and other things. It's a thing, you know. So I just want to make sure like I can do whatever I can to help him out as much as possible, and yeah. Thank you for the donation, Gabriel. Appreciate it. Johanna's got some good info there regarding the Paradise Means Defense place. There we go. Yeah, lots of good stuff. Yeah, Sage is saying like definitely makes sense, and I was afraid of doing past life regression. Maybe this is why, or you don't trust the individual doing the past life regression, so they don't know what they're doing exactly. I'm sort of working on it. I definitely want to help others like to recall their past life, because like one thing is like a lot of times in my sessions I do it for people, and sort of like it's easy for me to tap into your past life and see the stuff. But it's a whole different thing when you for yourself get to see it. So like I'm go through the details, and like, you know, like if some of you want, we can practice it, and you know, like literally when I get my experience, and I want to make sure like I'm at my best to guide you smoothly without any of those harsh incidents, you know, like just pick like small stuff first for the understanding of how it all works, and then move on into like a little bit more, so like when I get like good, I want to make sure like I can practice with you people. For example, if anyone wants to try out it with me and recall their past lives and be there, and then I don't know, like we can make it a thing, sort of like helping people recall their past lives, and teaching every one of you to do it as well if you want that. So I'm just saying, that'd be definitely something to do. Okay, so here's a few things, like Angie saying, I have been through this loss, and just typing this is difficult, so many tears. I say, I'm grateful for this love connection, and we're not ending. Sometimes it helps in the wave of grieving and gratitude. Like, yeah, exactly, like for me, like, I'm glad, because I know, like, not having him here, like my cat, will be, hard to handle, because I'm so attached to him. Like, literally, man, like the other day, I was, like, at my parents' house, and, like, just, like, playing with my cat. And my cat like loves when I sing, So, for example, like I would just like sort of spend time with him, and he was like, the moment I start to sing, he gets all quiet, and he comes to me and he starts purring, and like he like literally just sort of like starts rubbing himself all over me. So like just like seeing how much he loves it, just like doing that for him to make him just like just feel good and all this stuff. Like it's fun to see him happy and all this stuff. So just like getting out of body and like seeing that will be like relieving, but even then like it's, sort of like dealing with it like here will be harsh. Kazakh is saying, Akvile, might I just say, you're quite beautiful, objectively hot. I told the babe. Thank you. Appreciate all the comments and all the compliments. Can I sing something for you? Like maybe in time. Like I was singing for some people, and they liked it, and I'm really self-conscious, so like I want to make sure like I practice a little bit before I do it. But yeah, like it might become a thing. We'll see. Like I thought about doing it actually. Like brought my guitars and practicing it, and maybe in future. What's my favorite anime? Monster. Definitely. Monster, Full Metal Alchemist, Banana Fish, Ajin, but definitely Monster. I saw the playlist today. Like actually today, I was looking up. Like I felt like I have to show Monster to Rich. Monster anime, and I saw the whole thing, like English dub. If you want to watch, people, hold up, chill. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna pull it up. There we go. So check it out, people. There's this Monster. If you want to watch it, I'm not sure. Like you can like look up Monster English dubbed. It's just recently uploaded, and you can watch this anime. It's old enough, like 2004, but it's really good. It has a good self-disclosure on MK Ultra, like the government's controlling people and psychopaths and other things, insanity. There's like lots of details to it. But it's definitely one of my favorite animes. Like, damn. Yeah, exactly. Like, I really enjoyed it because like it wasn't the usual scenario in the fantasy world or Japan. It's like more like like Germany and like a lot of this whole detective and thinking. It's like literally staying on your toes. And when I watched it the first time, I quit because like it was hard to handle and they just for a kid. Not like sort of like. It was interesting, but like psychological things, more like just like lots to it. But I watched it the second time, and it's like, damn, that's the best thing that's ever I've ever seen. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. After that is also like lots of good self-disclosure. I like the ones with the good message, but then I watch everything. Like yeah. Anyway. So I guess people I should wrap it up right now. This is probably a good place where it's still light, and I'm gonna copy the comments so that like if any of you ask more questions that I did not answer to, I will be sure to make videos or just like get back to you and all this stuff. So anyway, people, thank you for being here. Thank you for all your love and attention and support and talking it up. Appreciate it all. Think you're all the best, and I'm just like really happy that like I have a platform to reach out to all of you, and you just get to engage with me and like have me talking and share all those things, and I really appreciate it. So thank you all. I'm gonna wrap it up for now, and I'll see you soon. I'll do more live streams, and yeah, I really love you all. I appreciate it all. So thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.